As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
There's no crying in baseball!
I ate his liver with some fava beans. A nice cliente.
That was totally wicked!
If I can change, and you can change, everybody can change!
And welcome to another episode of Your Next Favorite Movie. I am your host, Josh G. And we are back for another deep dive review.
Hey, baby, what's happening? How you doing?
Guest,
Once you have a
Chris
man
to the
with no
show.
days, you never go back.
Hi, guys.
Eddie Murphy
Say hello to Chad.
Is there problem officers?
to Richard
Nice.
Got paid for everybody.
There you go.
and watch Dan Aykroyd go from
This was
riches
originally going to be our
to rags.
first episode of the year. And this is all me. I just was not feeling up to it. We're going to get
Rated
to
R.
it
Under
now.
18 must be
We're
with
gonna
parent or guardian.
take the deep dive on trading places. So this movie came out June 8th, 1983. Had a budget of $15 million. Any guesses on how much this movie made, or did you guys look it up?
I did not look it up. Well, I'm pretty sure I looked it up at one point, but I forgot it. So I know it made. I'm pretty sure it made a lot of money.
Yeah, it came with 90.4 million. So yeah,
Oh,
so
wow.
a good
Yeah.
chunk of change there.
Considered a success, I would say. I would say so.
I would agree. Currently sits with a Rotten Tomato critic score of 88% and an audience score of 84. So pretty well liked overall. This movie, of course, stars Eddie Murphy as Billy Ray Valentine, Dan Aykroyd as Lewis Winthorpe III.
The third.
Yeah. Ralph Bellamy as Randolph Duke and Don Amici as Mortimer Duke, and Jamie Lee Curtis as Ophelia. And of course, it's directed by the great John Landis, who did what? He did Animal House, right? I know he did American Werewolf in
I believe
London.
so. Yes.
Then he went on to work with Eddie Murphy 2 more times and Coming to America and Beverly Hills Cop 3.
If I remember right, too, like I think for Jamie Lee Curtis, this may be her first big movie. You know, after she decided to not make horror movies anymore, I think this was probably her big first opportunity in a different film.
I think you're right. In fact, getting ready for this movie, cutting her hair and all that is why in Halloween 2 she had to wear that awful wig.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because they were so close together, both those movies.
So originally, this movie was actually intended to be another comedy for the duo of Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, because they did plenty of movies together. I didn't find a reason why, but Pryor decided to leave and they asked Eddie Murphy to come on, and he agreed, but he said he's not going to do it with Gene Wilder because he doesn't want to be thrown into that role trying to follow Pryor's footsteps, which I can understand.
Mm-hmm.
Those are big shoes to fill.
Those are big shoes to fill. So, Chris, you brought us this movie. Said you want to talk about it. So, what is it that made you want to talk about trading places at the new year?
Honestly, I just thought it fit if I can talk. It fit the New Year theme that I think we were going for, because we're just kind of looking out, what would fit for the holidays and go for the new year. And that was just the first thing that popped in my mind. And it's one of those movies that I know I've seen several times growing up, at least, throughout the ages.
Ages. Good Lord.
Yes.
Person's been around since the golden ages.
I'm aging myself. And but yeah, it's funny. It's a good movie. Yeah, so I thought it would be interesting. And as far as I know of, it was one that you haven't seen as well.
I wasn't sure if I'd seen it, but no, I have not. I've always been familiar with those brothers showing up and Coming to America.
Mm-hmm.
Later, when he gives the money to the poor guys, that come from this.
Randolph.
Yeah. But yes, I was watching this. I had not seen this movie.
Okay. And then with Chad, I think he had always usually seen clips, but I don't know if he had really seen it all the way through before.
all the
So
way through. Yeah, this was my first viewing and watching it from beginning to end.
Oh, nice. Okay.
so if anything, it was something new for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it.
All right. So before we get into the actual deep dive, I want to go over this because this is funny. I actually, I know you guys own this movie on Vudu. I noticed that, but I had recorded this on like HBO or somewhere. And you know how when you watch a movie on a premium channel, it says the following movie is rated R, and then shows why it's rated R. Well, this is going to double as a trigger warning for some sensitive material that we're going to talk about during this film because I'd never seen this before. But on the rated R for it has adult content, normal, graphic language, mild violence, nudity, and then it had one I'd never seen, OC, outdated cultural depiction.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
I was like, oh wow, that's new, something they've had to add here now.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
let that serve as your trigger warning because some stuff will be discussed
yes,
as it comes up.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna dive in. So this movie starts off. You're getting all kinds of scenes like around Philadelphia. Like you get signs saying Philadelphia. You get the Liberty Bell. It ends up ending with the Rocky statue. You actually get the Rocky statue because I think it had just gone up at this point.
All the founding father statues and stuff like that. Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're seeing everyday life. So you're seeing people get up in the morning for their jobs. And
well, to be fair, you see a person that has a butler making his breakfast for him.
That's true too. But it's kind of weird because I kind of took it as like, okay, these are your normal everyday workers going out making the money for the rich people. So, and they're out there hustling and bustling. He's not. So you know what I mean? Like,
he's definitely not, because that's what I noticed too. Is like you literally see like homeless people on the streets who are like standing beside barrels with fires to stay warm. Meanwhile, you see this guy in the kitchen making fresh orange juice, fruit, squeezing fresh oranges, and you can tell he's a butler, not the owner of this house. He's doing it for someone. So you're
he's doing it like specific way too to set it up, which is interesting.
So and then we cut back to this butler. I think it's his name Coleman.
Coleman.
Yeah, Coleman. And he's taken to this breakfast to a man in bed, brings him his newspaper. It's the 80s. I know newspapers aren't a thing anymore, but they were. So he eats that, and then I couldn't do this, but he lets Coleman shaves him while he reads his newspaper. I couldn't do that.
You get the idea that basically Coleman does everything, literally almost everything for him. I wouldn't be surprised if Coleman has to literally drag him out of the bed,
probably
lead him into the bathroom, probably has to sit up the toilet seat or something like that for him to pee, probably has to help him get naked to get in the shower and
pat him down dry.
Yep, pat him down dry, brush his teeth for him, I think perhaps. So I wouldn't doubt if he did like just about everything for him. He kind of had that. But in the meantime, like I said, you also have those everyday workers going, like even the workers working out in the cold.
Yeah. But yeah, like we see him.
Get that dichotomy of, this rich person versus, the working man.
Right. Yep. See, like you said, he does everything. He picks out his clothes for him. He can't even pick out his own clothes. And it's pretty much the same suit over and over in the closet, it looks like. But
he sets up the suitcase, if I remember right, or two, or something like that, or at least has it ready for him. Yeah, the briefcase. Excuse me.
The briefcase.
Yes, the briefcase. Mm-hmm. And the jacket and all that stuff. Yeah. Oh my god, it was everything.
and then this guy in the bed. This is Dan Aykroyd. He's playing Lewis Winthrop III.
The third.
Yes.
It's important to put that on there.
Yes.
He walks outside to his car and he just stands there and waits on Coleman to get back from locking up the house. He waits on him to come and open the door for him and then drive him to work. And I'm like,
I like how the camera does that moment where it follows Dan Aykroyd to the car and then he just stops and he turns to the side and he just sits there and looks straight ahead, waiting. And you have this really kind of awkward pause. And then there's Coleman that finally shows up and opens the door.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, yeah. And again, it's to emphasize that Coleman does literally everything for this guy.
And it's not just Coleman, it's everywhere he goes, because then he gets to work.
Sure.
And when he walks in, there's a guy there greeting him, holding his arm out to put his jacket on.
And what was it? He worked for, I know it says Duke and Duke on there, but is it like a bank or
It was like a club or something, right?
a big old building? As soon as he's coming in, I do see Duke and Duke on it, but
Yeah.
and it just looks like it's a bank on the
Yeah,
inside, but I don't know if
I
it's
know what you're
necessarily a bank. But yeah, then like Josh
It's
is
like
saying,
a
you got a
brokerage type
yeah,
place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you got all those
brokerage firm.
employees like,
Yeah.
good morning.
Sorry, I was
good
thinking about
morning."
the
I was
club
like,
that he's a
every-
part of later.
Every single employee. Good morning, Mr. Winthrop. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Winthrop. Good morning. I was like, oh my God, that would get old.
Let me tell you
quick.
something. Working in an office, when you go in every morning, you have to say like, good morning, how are you? Like
Yeah,
12 times in a row. And that's enough to drive me bonkers.
That would, yeah, it would
Having to
drive me
say
up.
that, 10 times to my coworkers. But
yeah.
having to go into this huge corporate building and say that to everybody that you come across, F that.
The only thing is
like I'm good, thanks.
I felt like those workers were all really kissing his butt.
Yep.
Like I think all of those people are just doing that because it's like, well,
He definitely works for the boss.
yeah,
Which we come to learn. He works for,
and I'm sure all those
Duke
people are
brothers.
wanting to
Mhm.
move up or have an opportunity, and one of it is, of course, being nice to Lewis Winthrop the third.
Oh yeah, you can guarantee he was once one of these guys.
Yeah.
This is where he started, and these are the people
Mhm.
trying to work their way to be him. Oh, absolutely.
Good morning, Mr. Winthrop.
And then
Good morning.
this is where we meet the Duke brothers for the first time. I didn't know who they were. I was just like, there's two older men. They're
Yeah, they kind of look like the old Muppets, the old men in the
The old
Muppets.
men in the Muppets. Yeah, that's exactly what they reminded me of.
That's kind of what they look like.
that's a good comparison. Yeah. And they're doing the same thing, they're getting their clothes picked out from their personal, and they have a ton of servants. They have like a whole line of servant people
Yes.
that are doing theirs.
Well, they live in that gigantic Dutch
my God,
mansion
yeah.
house
In the middle of nowhere.
It looks like the Haunted Mansion style
Yeah.
like down in Disney World.
Well, now, that's just wonderful. So now they could be like the old man that's in the graveyard at the Haunted Mansion. Exactly. And the funny thing is, the Muppets just had their version of the Haunted
Exactly.
Mansion. So,
You guys have really put this together tonight. There you go. That's good.
It's our thesis.
That's right.
It's our thesis paper.
We think they're Muppets, not actors.
Right. Oh, and then we get them, they're in the car ride or whatever, and they're looking over they're trying to figure out whether or not they want to buy or sell on these pork belly pigs. That's the big thing. And Winthrop has called and told them that they need to go for it. And they talk about some deal he did do where he made them an extra $347,000. So we're learning these guys only care about money.
Yeah, and I was gonna say because they're in the car, and it's almost like I guess they had like their version of like the internet or something, but it was like they were able to keep track of the stock prices in real time,
like a little computer in there. Yeah,
which I thought was kind of interesting. I was like, did that exist back then? I don't know. I mean,
and their own little phone in there too,
and
like a special little phone.
The early days of that, I think it did exist at that point. It was early. And only the rich people could have something.
But you
like
probably
that.
had to be as rich as them to have all of that. Yeah,
absolutely. So then they arrive at work at the bank and they get out, and well, here comes Eddie Murphy for the first time. And how do we meet Mr. Billy Ray Valentine? He rolls up on a skateboard. He does that later. He does that later on the subway.
Oh, that's right.
Still, that's a good way to chat. That's a good entrance.
He does come up on this skateboard. He's got his legs, he's on his knees. He's got glasses on. So you're like, is he blind?
Blind and, amputated legs. Yeah.
And what do these guys do? They beat him away with papers.
Oh, yeah.
Like they take the newspapers and beat him and tell him, go on. They're not giving him anything. And Chad, this is where they go into the Heritage Club. Members only.
That's right. Yes, the Heritage Club. That's right.
Have another round with Buffer.
Then we get a quick scene of them sitting inside, and they're reading. One's reading the paper, one's reading the Science Journal. They're just talking about money and how to make money. And I forgot which one it was. I think it was think it was Randolph. He said, mother always did say you were greedy. And the other one responds with, well, that was a compliment, not a. It's like, oh my goodness.
And one, I think it kind of, I mean, I know it's a comedy movie, but it sort of, I think, definitely illustrates the psychological state of a lot of these rich guys that,
Well, and I
that
think
do take advantage of
yeah.
the Wall Street system and the capitalism.
Well, especially today
system.
too. I mean that
Yeah,
is very relevant for
they're
today.
definitely a cutthroat attitude. I mean,
Mhm.
you don't get that rich by being nice.
Same,
You know what I'm saying?
that's
That's
why you
very
have like
true.
a lot of politicians connected
Yeah,
to it.
and
So
I think it definitely, they do a good job, I think,
Yeah.
of highlighting the psychological state of these guys, sort of establishing it right off the get-go.
Yeah. And you see how stingy they are because when we were seeing shots of Philly, we saw like Salvation Army workers.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
saw signs of like Santa on stuff. So, we're getting
Yeah.
into that Christmas season. And they give their personal butler or whatever at this work a $5 bonus as
Yeah.
his Christmas
yeah,
bonus.
and after
Yeah.
they just made 37,000 or something like
Yeah.
that.
No, the
they get
extra
that big-
347.
Yeah.
340.
Yeah.
There we go. They made all of that, but and apparently $5
$5
is,
is a
$5
lot.
is a
Yeah.
lot
Which
of money for them.
In today's money would still be less than $13. I had looked it up. It was like $12.80 something, I think.
And by the way, with the Reagan era, that was part of that whole trickle down
economics.
which
Voodoo economics, I guess,
there's
is what they
some
call it.
politicians who still believe that today, and it's like, okay,
Trickle down
sure,
my
yes,
ass.
$5 from the rich, yeah.
Josh's like, "Oh, guys, don't get political."
So
Yeah,
I can't help it because it really highlights
It is,
a lot
and
of
it is
that.
it is a very
And it's really
political movie in
connected.
a lot of
Yeah.
ways. Yeah, and I think it definitely highlights that sort of early era of the Reagan
Yes.
administration and
And
stuff
what
like
was
that.
yep,
Yeah.
and what's to come later on in the 80s and
Mhm.
how it really what and it still goes on today, like especially now I feel like we're more related in a way to the 80s
Mhm.
with capitalism, I guess you could say, and a lot of other things. And so it's like having a big mirror in front of your face to kind of see what society and socially where people seem to be.
Now we really get into how cheap these guys are because this is where we first get Winthrop interacting with these guys, and he's the one he's getting them to sign off on all the employees' checks. And Mortimer sits there is like, "Oh, this is too much. We're paying our employees too much." And Winthrop says, "Well, we can't get around minimum wage,
Yeah.
So they're paying
Again, see
all
what I
these
mean?
guys minimum wage. Like, good
Which
Lord.
I mean, what was it back then? It must have been
Oh,
like
God.
$4 or
It
something.
it probably wasn't even
Yeah.
$4. It probably wasn't even that. Like,
Ugh.
those guys working in a bank were not making any money apparently because
Mm-mm.
minimum wage. Whew.
No, you know what it is? They were working hard every day, hoping that they would be able to move up.
Mm-hmm.
And right here,
bastards.
Good morning, all the
Yeah.
time. But again, I love what you said too. It highlights how stingy they are, but they are so obvious and how greedy they are with the
Mhm.
money. They mention in there, I think, several times about, well, we made such and such just now, or we made such and such today.
yeah, they do mention that quite a bit.
But
But
also,
while they're
let's talk about how hideous that damn Heritage Club was, like with the green walls and the dark wood trims
okay,
and the awful like green carpeting in there. Like, ugh,
Yeah.
it just looked bad. Like there was nothing classy about that place at all. Like somebody, like they must have hired a blind man to decorate that place because it was terrible.
How do you really feel, Chad?
Just saying, those rich people had no taste. For all the money they had no taste.
but while they're signing all these minimum wage checks, Winthrop gets a little suspicious because there's one check that's $50,000. And they're like to us, Clarence Beeks, and he's like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Oh no, don't worry about that. He's just doing some research for us." And then they have him give him that check. We'll give that to him personally. That week we'll take care of that. So and just send Winthrop away.
And
Now-
I mean, Winthrop doesn't care. I mean, he's
No.
he's making his money and he's living fat,
Staying out of
so,
business. Yeah.
He's just like, okay, well, if that's
Yeah,
their
I mean,
money.
he brought it to their attention, and once they said it was
Yeah.
fine, he didn't worry about it anymore. Then we cut back to old Billy Ray Valentine rolling down the street.
In the park, right?
Yeah, he's in the part. And this was part of what was this is part of what was left in the script that you could tell was written for Richard Pryor. Because Eddie Murphy's, I think, 23 here. Like he's young.
Yeah,
This
he's
is
really
his-
young. He's super young in this movie.
Yeah, this is his second movie at this point. In fact, there was a good joke where I forgot how many movies it was, but Randolph or Ralph Bellamy, who played Randolph, and Donna Mitchell, who played Mortimer, between the two of them, they had made like 98 movies or something.
Oh,
So
wow.
Eddie Murphy, working on his second movie, said, between the three of us, we got 100 movies.
That's funny.
Oh, but he rolls down. He's talking to this woman, and he's like, once you have a man with no legs, you never go back. That line. Then of course the cops stop, and they're like, "We heard about this con man pretending he has no legs, pretending to be blind." And then Billy Ray tells him, "Nah, he's an amputee. He stepped on a mine in Nam," which is where I talk about it should have been Richard Pryor, because you need to be older. There's no way he served in Nam.
No, especially that young.
Yeah, he's too young to have done it. But then that plan backfires because the cops ask him where, because they were in Nam themselves, and he's trying to list all this stuff, but they could tell it's fake. It's fake. And then, and so they end up picking him up, one on each arm, and take his glasses off. He's like, "I could see."
That's
And
right.
then his legs fall down. He's like, "I do have legs. Praise Jesus." And he just walks away from the cops and praise Jesus, what a happy day. And they just look at him, but he gets away from them. I was like, well, it worked. And he ends up actually backing while he's doing this. He's looking at the cops walking backwards. He ends up backing into Lewis Winthrop, knocking his
That's right.
briefcase on the
scene.
ground.
Oh my god! And
This
talk
fucking
about
scene
another relevance.
infuriated me.
Yeah, and another relevance for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and like we said, it's just because a black man backed into him, he's like, he's trying to rob me. He's
Yep.
trying to rob me. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
He's picking it up, giving you your damn briefcase back, and you're sitting there yelling, take it, take what you need, whatever you want. And I'm like, oh. And you're
man.
right. Unfortunately, this is something that's still relevant today, and it's very, very unfortunate. But
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, I mean, definitely the they were highlighting the race issue, I think, with that, but they were also highlighting the classist
That's true too.
separation. This like, oh, this peasant, how dare he? You know. So yeah, very, very still prevalent in today's world.
Well, if I remember too, like, see, Dan Aykroyd wrote this movie too, right? He was part of the writing, at least part of the writing team for this one.
oh, I don't know about that.
Maybe. No, never mind.
He's not on the writing team.
I was thinking he was part of the, because he's always usually part of the creativity behind some movies he's in. But anyway, it just goes to show that there was a lot of thought, I think, into putting the realism of the world, but yet doing also a good job of keeping the humor in there,
Right.
So it has a really good balance. But because then it kind of gets exaggerated, and he starts running into the club, if I remember right.
Yeah,
or
because
at least in that office, and he's like,
because Winthrop won't take the briefcase back. So Billy
Yeah.
Ray's like, fuck, and takes off running into the club, running through the office. The officer, of course, tons of officers come in. There's like 6 officers, I think, that come in. End up chasing down. What do? They all point their gun right in his face, all around the circle.
And I couldn't help but sit there and think, because of the stuff that we've seen in recent times, I couldn't help but sit there and go like, oh my god, the guns are just pointed right at him, and that could have been much worse or something. I know that sounds too dark to think of, but that's immediately what came to my mind, which I was sitting there going, that's also the intelligence of the movie, if you think about it in some respect, because it's still there. If it was there then, it's there today.
Right. And Winthrop tells the cops that he was trying, what he had in that briefcase was all those payroll checks. So he was trying to steal that, even though we know he was not trying to steal a damn thing. But and this is where the brothers are looking at this situation, and Randolph tells him, he's just a product of a poor environment. And Mortar,
This is the line. And
This is a
Oh.
line here. And Mortimer says this is the line here. And Mortimer says there's something wrong with him. He's like, he's a Negro. He's probably been stealing since he could crawl. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I just
I know.
hand on my head, and I was like,
oh, that was
like
awful.
already like oof.
I mean, can you imagine what maybe the audience thought too when they first saw that? And I bet the reaction was the same too for a majority of it. They're just like, wow, that was awful. That was bad.
honestly, in 1983, I'm gonna think that they didn't think that they. I'm,
Well,
certain
you know,
audience. No,
yeah.
I think they should have thought that. I just don't think that they did, unfortunately, and that's part of the problem.
Because the crazy thing is, it's something I can hear even today with some people.
Exactly, and that's what's bad. And I was talking to someone at work about this movie, and he's like, "Oh, it's fine. It's just done for comedy. It's done for," and I'm like, "No, man."
Well, I like.
No, sir.
You're like, did you really find that funny?
Well,
I mean, like,
we were talking about other scenes later, which we'll get to as we get there.
I mean,
yeah, it's done for comedy. That still doesn't make it right.
Right? Because I mean, I mean, if anything, yeah, you understand like in terms of where the character's mindset is, because that's just what the character's going to think. But even as an audience member, you can still sit there and empathize and be like, "That's bad." You cannot. That's awful. What is up with this man to say that now, or even back then, I guess. But
well, definitely. Again, they're using it as a method to sort of highlight how awful these people are.
And like you said too, the classism as well, because you saw that club, and there's no black person in that club, in that
color at all. Yeah.
Oh no.
There's a sea of like that creamy eggshell white.
Yep. Yeah.
So of course Billy Ray gets taken away, and Randolph and Mortimer decide to bet. They bet that they think that Billy Ray can run the company as well as Winthrop, and that they think that they can make Winthrop not only by losing his job, but they can make him turn to a life of crime. They're like, what do you want to bet? The usual amount. We don't find that out till much later.
Yeah. Which that turns out pretty bad too.
Yeah. Yes, we'll get there. So now we get a dinner scene. Winthrop is talking to his girlfriend about the whole situation.
Penelope, that's right. Penelope.
Oh yes, Penelope. Yes, her name is
awful
Penelope.
name. Ugh.
I don't think Penelope Cruz would appreciate that, Chad.
Well, and then like in the scene, like obviously she's like, he's told her the story of what happened. She's like, very attracted to him. And I'm like, he had to lie to her about what happened. He was like this, strong man that fought off this dangerous criminal.
Right.
And so she's all like, Lewis, I want you now.
Right.
And he's like, Coleman, we'll be having our drinks in the living room or wherever it is.
By the fire.
By the fire, yeah.
And he's like, what about
she's
dessert?
Giving him that come hither look.
Yeah. And he's like, you can have the dessert. And then we cut to Coleman throwing the dessert in the trash. He's like, I don't want this rich people shit. You guys eating terribly. He doesn't say that's how I took it though. He's dumping it in the trash. So I thought it was funny. And at this point, he's in the kitchen. He ends up getting a call from one of the Duke brothers, and they're telling Coleman about what they're planning to do with the Billy Ray and Winthrop switch and how they're gonna.
That's crazy too with Coleman in this movie, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I was like, what the hell is going on here with that? Like, I don't know. I'll tell you a little bit more later when we get to that point.
Okay. Well, it probably gets set up right here when he's telling them everything they plan to do. And of course he's agreeing. And then when he gets off the phone, he's like, you scumbag. All right. And then he's talking. It got Winthrop talking to that girl again. And she wants to do some party, and it's on January 2nd. So we know we're getting close to the new year, but we're not there yet. And he says he can't do it. That's like the busiest week of work. And at this time, like this is right before they're going to do it. So they're getting undressed, like taking each other's clothes off while they're having this conversation.
While they're having talk about, the crop reports and, the money and all that stuff.
Yeah, because she wants to go to a party and he's worried about work because that's a busy week at work. Well, like you said, with all this crop reports and all this stuff. I'm like,
I guess, when you're rich, money turns you on. So you might as well talk it up. Talk up the money.
I guess. And as she gets to her underwear, Coleman pops his head in and asks if he's needed any more tonight.
And then meanwhile, you have him in his boxers, I think.
Yeah,
Lewis
Winthrop's
down to
in his boxers. Is down to his boxers, but he puts himself in front of her, Penelope. Yes. Then we cut to Billy Ray Valentine in jail.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yep.
He's telling these guys, he's like, "Yeah, Bruce Lee was my teacher," and he's doing these terrible looking karate moves that you can tell. And he talks about some kind of technique where you lose a quart of blood by doing it, and I'm like, okay. And of course, he's saying that he beat up 10 cops. That's why he's in jail. And all of a sudden, there's these two big guys sitting off on another bench, and they were there when he got there. And he's like, "You were crying when you were brought in. And if you were in a fight with 10 cops, why do you have no marks from the fight?" And he says, "I love this." He's like, "I'm a karate man. I keep my bruises on the inside. I don't show nothing to the other man. You Barry White looking motherfucker." Which the guy kind of did remind me of Barry White. So
yeah, he did kind of look like him. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy because the great thing about the setup here is that you learn that with Billy Ray, he's a hustler, man. That's all he's had to do. So
yeah, all the time.
He's always thinking on his feet and try to play to any situation that comes his way. If it's a way to get out of it or to get money and so he's a guy that's been hustling and bustling and not someone who's meant to hurt anybody. He's just really trying to survive every day.
And this Barry White character and his partner come over and they lift him up on the cage and he says something like, "Oh, just in time for Thanksgiving, you jive turkey."
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like we're starting before Thanksgiving. We're going to work our way down. But of course, right as they lift him up, the cops are coming saying Billy Ray made bail. And even Billy Ray surprised. He's like, "I did?"
Mm-hmm.
So he walks out, he looks around, he's like, he's just taking it in, trying to figure out who the hell made his bail. And this is when the Duke brothers pull up. And they want to talk to him and tell him they offer him a bottle of nice whiskey to talk to him.
Which is really weird because it's like two old white men show up in a limo offering you whiskey.
Well, and he says that. He's like, "What do you want? You guys think I robbed you, blah, blah, blah." And they're like, "We're the one that made your bail." That's the what.
Yeah, but it just
really
makes it seem like something else. Like,
they're propositioning
him.
Which
so
is actually
kinda,
which is what he thinks when he's in the car.
Different,
yeah.
But they are.
If you ask the driver of the car, he's like, "Are these men a couple?"
That's right. He does say that. Yeah, and it does come off that way at first because
because they're like offering him like
yeah.
House,
right.
They're offering the money and all that stuff. He's like, the cigars.
They off. Yeah, I love they open up the box of cigars and he takes all the cigars.
Yeah. And don't we see that throughout his interaction with him? He's always taking something, I think, right? Throughout the whole time he's with them.
Yeah, even when they give him the house, he's still trying to take stuff and they have to explain to him that it's
I remember
his.
that part in the living room at least. Yeah.
They he takes the cigars. They ask him, they want to employ him at the company and offer him $80,000 a year. And that's when he leans up to the driver and asks, "Are these guys?" Well, I'm not going to say the word that we all used in the 80s. That was just normal if you watch 80s movies.
He was asking if they were gay.
Yeah.
Yes. And the driver just shrugs. He refuses to answer. He doesn't say a word. But hey, the charges have been dropped. Billy Ray says he'll stick with them then. So what do? They take Billy Ray to the house, and it's the house that Winthrop was in. This was the house that he was living in. So now Coleman's his servant.
Sounds like the name of a movie, The House That Winthrop Was In.
The film critics are calling it the best picture of the year. Nominated for 22 Academy Awards.
Every category.
Rolling Stone raves stunning. Variety 4 stars.
All right, we get to see Billy Ray in the jacuzzi, and he doesn't know what a jacuzzi is. They turn on the bubbles, and he's like, "Oh, well, we wanted bubbles. We had to fart in the tub." That was a fun line.
Oh yeah, I do like too. We're kind of going back where that they're trying to tell him, "Oh, wait a minute, was it after the bathtub scene where they try to tell him like, no, this is your
It was
house.
after-
Yeah,
it
that-
was
that's
after-
coming
okay.
later. Yeah,
He's
it's
like
coming.
all dressed
Okay.
up really nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because Mortimer sends all the old raggedy clothes. He's like, send him to the laundry. We're gonna need him
That's right.
when we send him back to the ghetto after the bet. And I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Oh, I know some of those lines they say about him.
Yeah, I made the note. I was like,
Ooh.
oh my god, what an asshole. But yes, here we go. Now Billy Ray's in his suit, and his name's Billy Ray, and Randolph keeps calling him William, and Billy Ray like, no, my name's not William. Okay, William. Okay, William. You gotta have that more professional sounding name.
Exactly. They gotta give it that rich kind of sound at least.
Yeah.
Billy's too peasant. He has a peasant sounding
Yep.
name.
And this is where the brothers, they're trying to explain to him, this is your home now. Billy Ray's still not buying in. Mortimer actually
No,
goes
he's
over and
like-
starts
he's
pulling
like-
stuff out of his jacket. you
Yeah.
know?
He's testing them. He's,
He's like,
testing to see
he's
if
like,
they're
so
gonna
this is
call the cops.
he's like, this is my house, huh? So I can do this. And he's like stuffing things. Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Well,
I like
he
that.
was stealing stuff without them knowing it. Well, and then they, like, if you steal this, you're just stealing from yourself. But then he's
Yeah.
like, okay, so you're telling me I can do this. And he starts juggling this vase and he accidentally drops it. And they're not mad.
Well, you can kind of tell they're a little like
Yeah, at first they were like,
off.
"Ooh."
And he's like, oh, he's like, what was that worth or whatever? And they're like, I think we paid 15,000.
No, I think it was more than that.
well,
Right?
they said
35,000. I'll tell you, I got it, Chad. I got it.
15 Okay.
So he drops it, and they're not mad, and he's like, "Oh, that must have been fake or whatever." And Randolph says, "No, that face cost was 35,000, but we had insurance set at 50,000 on it.
That's
so you
it.
just
That-
made us
yeah.
15,000."
That's right. That's where you got the 15 from.
Yeah, that's where I knew when he brought it up. I knew where it was coming from. And then
And again, highlighting money for them, how much they're getting, right?
And I mean, let's say, whenever you have like renter's insurance or whatever, like you always fudge the numbers a little bit. You're like, oh, TV, you paid like 300 for it, but you're like, I paid 600 for it.
there you go. Yeah,
Because
that
all you
way-
do is give estimates,
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's true. So Billy Ray, since he made him money, he's like, "Well, y'all want me to break something else?" And both brothers and Coleman all are like, "No!" at the same time. They don't want stuff breaking. And then we get it cut back to a shot. Now the brothers they're looking out the window, and this is where they see Winthrop. He's walking by. They're back in their office or whatever. And you look down and you see this other guy like at a payphone. This is who we learn later who he is. And at first I was like, is this a hitman? Are they trying to take him out instead of just turning him, letting him go?
Right.
Mhm.
Because he points, looks at the Duke brothers up in the window, and they nod, letting them know that's the guy that they're looking for. So he starts following them. And then we're back at the Heritage Club, and the bells ring. And they have, oh my goodness, it's like lunchtime or whatever for all these employees. And they literally have a single servant to bring every tray. Not a single servant. They have a servant for every person
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
getting lunch. Like like 20 or 25 servants bringing trays into this damn
And like,
lunch.
what kind of room was it? I mean, it looked like, fucking like the Congress Hall or something.
Yeah.
Because you had like
Yeah.
these podiums up in the front and these
Like something
tables, like, semicircle surrounding it.
Look like
and
something in
everything,
the UK or something.
and chairs along the edges.
So Winthrop walks in. Paul Gleason's character, who is this Clarence Beeks, bumps into him, and you see him put something in his pocket. Of course, Winthrop doesn't notice. All
You mess
these
with
members.
the bull, you get the horns.
There you go. Breakfast Club
Sorry, I
burgers
had to
for you
say
guys
it.
that don't
Yep.
know.
I had to say it.
The members all sit down, and the leader stands up. I don't know. It's not one of the brothers. It's someone else, and he's like, "There's a thief in our presence, and for the first time in 200 years." And he brings up Paul Gleason, Mr. Beeks. We'll call him Beeks from here on out. And he's like, "What I want you guys to do is all stand up and put one hand on your shoulder to the person on your left, and then empty the pockets of the person on your right." And then they have them sit down with all their stuff on the table. And he's like, "We marked three $50 bills that were stolen with X's on the back." And of course, they go down, and who has them? Winthrop has these bills, of course.
Winthrop's like, I've never seen that in my life. Yeah.
Yeah. Doing that whole thing. Yeah. Deny.
Yeah.
Deny.
Yeah. So
Which,
they
I mean,
bring-
to his credit, he really did not know.
I'd say he didn't do it.
And then the other thing too is I brought this up to chat. I was like, he's rich anyway, and and yet they expect him to
money.
fall to his lowest point over $150.
Yeah.
Well, it's more about losing the job and getting fired. It's more about than that because you got to think what comes after this. When you're going to talk about Coleman stuff. I assume it has stuff to do with him as well, but maybe not. Maybe your stuff is different.
Oh, it's
we'll
kind of a little different because of his motives, and I'll tell you why.
see. Okay. So cop's taken away. He's saying he's not a thief. He's yelling whatever.
Take off your
Then we
clothes.
get Beaks at a
Now,
police
wait a minute.
station. He's
I know my
whispering
rights.
to the
Take
cop
off your
something. So I guess
clothes.
he's telling him about the plan, and the cop
You
goes
are
along with
making
it, which I
a
found kind of
decision
crazy.
here. Now you better think about it because it's something that
Right.
you are going to have to live with for the rest of
Yeah.
your life.
Williams in front of his office in front of the officers, and they're like, "Take off your clothes." I love.
Oh
line.
yeah.
I love the line the cop gives him: "Strip you little shit before I tear you a new asshole." Oh, it's a great line.
Which it kind of tells you that officer was like all about ass or something because he calls him a little shit and then he's like, oh, and I'll tear you new asshole as well. And it's kind of like, boy,
Fixated
you're
on
really
the butt.
fixated on the butt there, aren't you? It's a lot of
And-
butt references in a couple of sentences.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I'm
About
wondering.
jail and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of butt references.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I wonder if Beaks was telling him to check him because now they go through his stuff and he has PCP. And I
Well,
wonder if they're
yeah.
the ones that told him, but I think they would have checked him anyway, right?
Well,
That's what I'm not sure of.
Or is that
When
just,
he was
it's
arrested.
angel dust, right?
It's angel dust, yeah. Which I don't know if is that PCP. I don't know. I'm not a drug person.
I'm
but
not either. But
I just remember him saying it was.
if
angel
you know
dust.
this, please comment below.
I think you're
Uh,
right, Chris, because a lot of people keep saying it's heroin. He's like, no, it was PCP or it was angel
Yeah.
It
dust.
was
Yeah.
angel dust.
Yeah. So I,
mean,
think you're
wasn't
right.
there I'm having a flashback to like Stranger with Candy.
Oh,
The angel dust.
Jerry Blank.
But yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, if he was arrested, I mean, he would have been searched when he was arrested.
Right. And I would think they would have found because I don't know, they found it in his jacket, right?
Yeah, they found it.
Is that what
after
the
they're
police
going
found
through
it
his
in?
stuff. Yeah.
So you would think that they would have searched him then before they even brought him to the police station
Mhm.
and would have found it. But
Yeah. I'm
Anyway,
not-
plot convenience
yeah,
here.
exactly.
You're right, because this is what gets him officially booked and how it shows him taking his mugshot. He's going to jail. Then we cut to Billy Ray and he goes into the bar. And Billy Ray now has money. So what's he do? He asks for the best bottle of champagne. And the bartender's surprised he's even there because he has a debt. And Billy Ray pays off the debt and buys everyone in this bar champagne.
He's being like
Yeah, 'cause
Bubbles DeVere.
he
Right?
takes the-
champagne for everyone.
Which, by the way, is a Little Britain reference.
Also a problematic show.
Problematic,
received,
yeah,
some
but
heat.
funny, real funny too. Anyway, and there he takes out like a bunch of bills, right? And he's like, "Oh, I could take care of that debt or something like that." And he just
Yeah.
Flops
When
it
he,
on
when he
flops
pays off
the
his
bills
debt, yeah.
everywhere. Yeah.
Like a baller.
And then of course there's the two guys from the jail that he was in
Yep.
earlier who are watching him, and he's getting all this adulation from the people in the bar, and they're kind of like starting to get jealous and all that stuff.
And he had told him in the jail, we didn't mention it, that he had a limo that was coming to pick him
That's
up.
right.
Yeah.
That's
So
right.
he tells them now, yeah, my limo's outside. And of course, they go look outside, and Coleman's standing outside waiting on him in front of the limo and everything. So, yeah, looks like he wasn't a bullshitter, even though when he was in jail, he actually was.
He really
But-
was, yeah.
How convenient in that moment.
Yeah.
He was very lucky.
yeah. So now Billy Ray leaves. He's got about 3 women, I think, on his arms at this point. But then, of course, when we're back at the house, he brings like the whole fucking bar with him.
Oh, he brings the whole bar with him.
And these
yeah.
people are being trashy.
I just
Trashy.
trashy, and then you have like the two ladies dancing.
Oh my
without
God.
tops on.
I like how okay, so this was I thought was funny. You got this one woman that takes her top off, but then this other woman's like, "Oh, is she gonna take her top off too? Then
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it too." And she just kind of like seemed like she got jealous and was like, "I got good titties too." And
She
Well,
has
it's
one-
funny because before that,
sorry, but you know what I mean. Like it was like suddenly it was a top off competition or something.
serving.
oh, what's funny was before the
They're-
first woman even took her top off, it was like this guy in a trench coat being a flasher, but he was wearing boxers and everything.
That's
I
right.
don't know why that made her take her top off, but yeah, but
maybe
It's
it
a
was
sexy party.
Yeah,
As Stewie would say.
but you can tell.
sexy party.
You can also tell Billy Ray's kind of adapting to this lifestyle here because, like, yeah,
Well, and then he's
they're
looking
putting-
around and realizing everything has a price to it, a high price
Price and
tag.
people are not respecting the space or anything
They're not,
like that.
but
yeah.
but he's also getting mad at little thing. At least I thought it was a little thing, like people not using a coaster.
Yes.
That was a little thing that I went, oh yeah, he's adapting nicely to this. Like,
yeah, but you know what?
certain
You got
people
some
were
nice
putting out shit
furniture.
on the
Mhm.
floor, so
I mean, I would be pretty particular about people using coasters. I'd be a coaster person too.
Oh my god. And the other thing too, cigarettes.
Oh god, yeah.
Like cigarette marks on the couches and
yeah,
ooh, I hate that. Ooh.
yeah, that would irritate me too. But yeah, he ends up getting so mad. He ends up cutting the music off after he sees these comes down and they're dancing topless and all that, and he just yells, "Get the fuck out!"
At first, they're looking at him like, "What?"
But wait, then there was that moment he went upstairs and that one woman's in the bed for him too. And she's like topless as well before
Yeah.
the other women downstairs, by the
Right.
way. And she's like, "Oh, I've been here waiting for you, Billy Ray," or something like that.
And he just says, "Get on some clothes and get out." Like he's lost complete
Which is a
interest.
quick turnaround for him.
Yeah, that was a quick turnaround.
It was a
for
quick
him.
turnaround for his character, I
very
thought,
quick.
because a few scenes before, you would think, especially when he was at the bar
Mhm.
and he had all those women on him, he probably would have jumped on it right
Right.
then and there. But suddenly something changed when
I
back
think
at the
it's
house
because
and he seen
once it
those
was in
people
his
acting.
house, yeah.
Yeah.
Once it was in his house, I think is what got to him. Yeah. And of course, he tells Coleman they're just a bunch of freeloaders treating my house like a fucking zoo.
I like how Coleman's just kind of like, like his face just kind of is like, "Good for you, sir, finally seeing that."
Yeah. So Billy Ray just like, you're done for the night. I'm going to bed. You do whatever, And then now we cut to Winthrop. He's getting out of jail. You can tell he's had his ass beat. He's got a black eye and a busted lip.
Oh, and then on top of that, they don't even give him his clothes back.
No, he's got some ugly ass
He's got some ugly clothes.
ensemble on.
And then who's waiting?
And you can
for
tell
him?
that stuff has to
Penelope.
reek really bad.
Oh yeah. Well, and then of course she tells him, "You stink," and he's like, "Penelope."
Oh yeah.
But
I've been in jail.
before we see him meet her, we actually see
Oh.
Beeks paying the hooker, which is Jamie
Oh,
Lee Curtis.
That's right.
Jamie Lee
That's
Curtis.
right.
See her. We hear him say, "Hey, you want to make a fast 100?" And then then the girlfriend comes up because that's how she has to come make her entrance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
she's
'cause,
mad.
like she just got
Penelope.
released from jail as well. So she was making her
Yeah.
way out, and that's when he stopped her. She's like, "Oh, come on! Like I just got out."
Yeah,
She's like, "Are you
That was
serious?"
She's like, "Are you making a proposition here in the police station?"
Exactly. Right there in the damn precinct. You're gonna ask that. But yeah, she's embarrassed. The girlfriend Penelope embarrassed by his clothes, his shoes, everything. And he's like, "Do you not understand? Those men wanted to have sex with me in there."
Have sex with me in there.
Yeah, that sounds just like him too, like Dan Aykroyd.
Oh goodness. And we find out he's being charged with embezzlement from the company. And of course, he's claiming he's innocent, but the girlfriend's not buying it.
Over
And,
$150.
Hey, exactly. Like
Seems like something you can pay back really easily.
Yeah.
but it sounds like I guess that they're charging him with more than that. They just used the
Yeah.
150 as the
As an
plan to
excuse.
catch
Yep.
the plan to catch him, even though it was a plant, obviously.
I see.
But of course, they're sitting there, and all of a sudden, the hook. I didn't know her name. I kept writing hooker until I figured out her name. Her name's Ophelia.
Well, to be honest, to be fair, we don't find out her name.
Yeah, we
until
don't
a
find
little
out
bit
her
later.
name till later, and I hadn't
Just
seen
a few
this, so I
scenes
didn't know
later.
it was Ophelia.
But you're right. You could call her hooker for at least the part of the time,
But yes, Ophelia,
aka hooker.
hooker in the movie, she comes up to Winthrop and just starts kissing on him and asking, and she's like, "You have a dime bag? I'll do that thing you like." And of course,
Yeah.
that set Penelope off, and she smacks him with the purse. It's like, "I never want to see you again," and she leaves. And of course, Winthrop's looking like, "What the fuck?" And Ophelia's like, "It was a joke. I got paid by your friend." And of course, she turns around and
course,
Beeks
Beeks
is
is
gone.
gone.
Yeah.
Kind of like Michael Myers in that moment.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, man, could you imagine him playing that?
Right?
That strike, that music chord strike.
Jamie Lee Curtis found her new Michael Myers, huh?
It's Beaks.
Clarence Beaks. Doesn't have the same ring to it.
I'll
Chris.
see you in detention.
There we go.
Oh shit. So anyway, Winthrop ends up taking her back. He's like, I'll give you your money. I got it at the house or whatever.
And you
And of
know what I
course-
realized too, just real quick, Jamie Lee Curtis was also super young when she did this movie. She was only maybe 24
Yeah,
when
she
they
had to be-
maybe filmed it, and then going on 25 when it was released. So her and Eddie Murphy were kind of around the same age.
Yeah. And I would think Dan Aykroyd is probably a few years older.
Yeah, like I think he may have been at least hitting 30 around this point, if I remember right, because I know he was born in the early 50s.
30, 31, about the time of filming and release. 31 at release, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably 30 when he's filming. So yeah, they're all young. But yeah, Eddie Murphy's the youngest and just getting in the business at this point.
Right.
But yeah, Winthrop goes to the house, and of course Coleman acts like he's no idea who he is when he answers the door, and he won't let Winthrop in, and tells him he's going to call the police if he doesn't go away. So the plan is in full effect here. And Winthrop is like, "What the fuck do you mean? You've been my damn butler for who knows how long at this point? You know, we don't know."
Because he's
like,
dragging Ophelia with them at this point. And he's like,
yeah,
and then I think he promises to pay her because of the cab ride.
exactly. He promised to pay her. He ends up taking he goes
He's
to
like,
the
I'll
bank
show
now.
you. I really am rich.
It's more about him showing her than anything. He wants to prove that he's important, that he is an important person in life, and it's not working out for him so far.
No.
In fact, he goes to the bank and he's like, "You know what? Give me $500. You know what? Give me $1,000." Just trying to show off in front of her.
Yep.
And then the bank manager has to come over like, your credit card your account has been frozen. And he actually has to take his credit cards from him. And then the cops throw him out on the street.
Oh my God. And they throw him out there. That one guy threw him out there rough.
Yeah, I'm saying they threw him out like he just tried to come in and rob the damn thing. Like,
it's like, how did Dan Aykroyd land pretty well? Because I was like, that had to hurt.
Ophelia's like, you know what? Forget about the money. You know, you're going through a rougher patch than me at this point.
She's like, I don't have time for this. I got to get home.
And with her, you can tell he just wants her to believe that he actually has money. That's all he cares about.
One person to believe him at least. Yeah.
But she gets in the cab and you know what? She's like, she waves him over. She feels his hand. She's like, "You have soft hands. You haven't worked a day in your life."
Yeah, and that's where I think they give her
because
you know, she could tell just by his hands that he was pampered.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
he
She even mentions that he had
money.
a manicure. Yeah,
that's right. Even the manicure. That's right. She did mention that.
Yeah. So now she's like, you know what? Just come with me. So she gets her to come with her. And of course,
I like how she's always chewing gum too, by the way.
Is she? I don't think
In
I
the
know.
movie, she's always
Don't
always
you know?
chewing gum in the movie.
So while they're in the cab, they pull up, of course, next to Billy Ray in the limo.
He's like,
Of course, Billy Ray recognized, like, that's the guy that tried to say I stole from him. And Winthrop's yelling, "That's the guy that stole from me. That's the guy that stole from me."
And that's my butler.
That's my butler.
Yeah. Yep. He starts shouting that that's his car. You know, that's not only his
Mhm.
that's his car. That's his driver. And Billy Ray, you can tell he's like some strange shit's going on. Like, what in the
Yeah.
world? How am I all of a sudden with this guy? You know, basically in this guy's life. You know, he's basically switched lives with him. That's what he's done. And Coleman tells him, "Nah, don't worry about it. You can't be late for your first day of work." And Billy Ray's worried because he's going to a job that he has no idea what the fuck he's supposed to do, you know?
Right. And you know what's crazy is that they're kind of figuring, like, they're knowing some shit's going on, and they're being played like puppets by the Muppets. I knew you didn't like that one, Josh.
Oh, wow. All right. So Billy Ray goes into work and he's just getting there. And the secretary's like, "Yeah, they're already waiting on you." And the Duke brothers are there to welcome him. We find out here they're commodities brokers. They deal in agricultural products. So he shows them this table, and there's coffee, there's wheat, there's the pork bellies. And I love that he's like, there's coffee, which you might drink in the morning. There's wheat, which you might use to make bread. He's like, there's pork bellies, which you can make bacon, which you might find on a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. And I love this scene because Billy Ray looks directly at the camera and he gives this look like, "Are you fucking serious? Do they not?
he breaks
I
out
think
the
I don't know
ball,
what
yeah.
bacon is." Like I love that scene that when he looks in the camera and gives that look.
Oh yeah, because you know what?
Are you kidding me?
It's thinking exactly what the audience is thinking in that moment. Like, no
They're
shit.
talking down to
Yeah.
him and everything. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
really, Columbo? Is this how it goes?
And then
They
they're
figured it out.
And then the last thing on the table, of course, is the frozen orange juice, which is something else they've been trying to figure out whether or not they want to buy or not. They want to try to corner the frozen orange juice market because it's basically as good as gold. And they're like, the good thing is we just need to get the clients to buy because whether they make money or lose money, we'll get the commission. Like they're all about which.
Yeah. Because that's where he's like, that's the best part. He's like, and the best part is the commission.
Yeah. And if you watch Wolf of Wall Street, you'll learn it's cutthroat like this. So another movie that does.
Oh man, I probably need to watch that. And what is that? Wall Street, right? With Michael Douglas.
Yeah, I never watched that one either. You're right. And I love Billy Ray right here. It's like you guys sound like a couple of bookies. So
Yeah.
with all you
He's
gambling.
like, do you understand what that is? He's
And
like,
also American Psycho.
American Psycho. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't see the trading cutthroat part of it in American Psycho. Like
Very
that,
true
you
on
know?
that too.
Yeah, but he kills people, so it's kind of the same.
Sure.
It's in that vein.
He makes commission by slashing people.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Now we cut back to Winthrop, and he's carrying the groceries for Ophelia, and he's like, he's thinking Billy Ray is the one that somehow framed him with the money and got him out of this. You know, and this is actually the scene where we learn her name is Ophelia, by the way. Yeah, because she tells him her name's Ophelia. She's got this long, like curly haired wig on. And this is where she pulls her wig off.
Oh, yeah, this is where she takes him to her apartment.
Her apartment, yes.
Yeah, that was funny. Where
rough
they're
side of town.
rough side of town. I like when they were walking the street there, right?
Yeah.
And there's that point where they were at the fire. A couple guys were at the fire, right? And she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" You know, because those guys knew her and she knew them. And he's like, "You know those people?"
She's like, "Yeah, they look after me."
Yeah. And then like she goes to like this kind of rundown building where it looks like there was a building used to be beside her, but it's just torn down or something. So you got this gap between buildings. But anyway, she goes through that rickety kind of door or whatever.
Those rickety stairs.
Then she goes up those rickety stairs. But then you go to her apartment and you're like, this is completely different than what you're seeing on the outside because it was actually really nice on the inside.
Yeah, you can tell she had pride in where she lived. And she says
she
too,
did.
like it's clean.
Yep.
It's
She
warm,
says that
it's
she's
clean.
like the place is a dump, but it's cheap, it's clean, and it's all mine.
Yeah.
And like, she even says she's like she doesn't do drugs, she doesn't have a pimp, she's doing all this on her own. She says she saved $42,000, which I was like, wow, that is a lot to
And
save.
she says like
I don't know if
2
that
years,
is in
like
today's money,
I think she
but-
said she was like a couple years off from retirement.
Yeah.
She might have, yeah. I think she did say
Which,
that.
you
And that's what
the
she's like,
80s.
yeah, because it was like real fast where she was sitting there like, it's a dump, but it's clean and it's warm. She's like, I got 42,000 in my bank account. I'm a couple years away from rent. So don't ruin any shit for me here. Basically is what she was telling them.
Yeah, and she's like, and if I help you get back on your feet, you're gonna pay me 5 figures. So that's at least 10 grand, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That'll help her get to her goal faster. And then she goes in the room, and this is the part Jamie Lee was a little uncomfortable with. She did for the first time, and I think the only time, from what I understand, where she takes her shirt off and showed off the girl.
Yeah,
Well-
well, that's the thing. You can tell this movie was written by men.
Well, not necessarily that part, because there's another part she does that
Yeah, she does. She
Um,
does go
a little bit later.
bare chest.
Oh, I meant
frontal.
the only movie though.
The only
Oh,
movie
okay,
I don't think
sorry.
she did
Yeah.
it. I don't think she does it in another movie.
Well,
I
that's the
think.
thing. Like, you know, some people want to make cracks that, you know, oh, she ran around with her breasts out in her horror movies. And it's like, actually, no, she
Mhm.
never got,
She never.
She
showed
did
never
anything.
shows nudity in her horror movies, but it's only been the mainstream movies
Mhm.
that she did show some nudity.
Yeah, I really think it's only this. I know in True Lies she's in her underwear, but I don't think she ever
Right.
actually gets.
No, she doesn't. You don't see any nudity in that one. I know that sounds disappointing, right? But that's not what I mean.
But it's funny because she's doing it in the mirror, which I was like, yeah, I don't know, she's checking herself out. I mean, I don't know. I'd be impressed with myself, but she sees Winthrop looking in, and she's like, she covers herself up, and she's like, food and rent aren't the only thing that costs money around here.
That's
And closes
right.
the door on him. Now we cut back to the brothers. We're learning that the pork belly's price is going down, and Mortimer wants to buy, and Billy Ray's like, no, you need to wait. It's Christmas time. People can't afford that kind of stuff right now. Let it drop a little more. Randolph isn't happy.
Oh yeah,
No,
he's like being all
Randolph
antsy.
Randolph is happy. Mortimer's the one that wants to buy. Mortimer's
Yes.
the one that's. You got to remember,
And
Randolph
notice too, like
taking a bet on Billy Ray.
Randolph is the one that seems more positive about
Right.
Billy Ray.
Yes.
Whereas Mortimer is like usually when you see him and it involves Billy Ray, he's kind of, he's wanting to get rid of the guy real fast, or he's like, this guy's going to, pull one on us, or whatever the case may be. Like he just has no faith whatsoever in Billy Ray.
And in fact, right here, he gives him a test, because Mortimer gets mad, storms out.
That's right.
And you see that a money clip is dropped to the floor. And of course, he looks up confused, and you can tell he's like, is this a test? So what does he do? He takes it down, he gives it back. He's like, hey, you dropped this. And of course, Randolph said, oh, your little test didn't work out, did it? And when he threw him the money clip, that was like a real juggle. He was supposed to just catch it, and he actually juggled it trying to catch it.
Yeah.
And they left it in the film, so it worked out nicely. Then we cut to some.
Mortimer was so disappointed.
Yeah, Mortimer was disappointed. But now we cut to this country club, and I was like, "What? Where the hell are we at?" I didn't.
Speaking of bad clothes,
and you got
that
these
jacket, he comes in.
You got these guys sitting there singing. I didn't even realize this was Penelope at first. I was like, "Who the fuck are these people?" I didn't.
Oh my god! And I thought, if anything you would love about this, Josh, is the singing part.
No, terrible. I'm not. No.
Zedekiah, my friend. 'Neath the elms we sing our tones. We're brothers to the end. Muffy in the bathroom stall. Margaret by the lake. Susan down in Whitley Hall. Constance on the make. Constance Fry. Anytime you'd call, Constance would fulfill your needs. Winter, spring, or fall.
I was like,
It wasn't until Winthrop finally showed
bullshit
up.
Is this?
Yeah. It wasn't until Winthrop actually came in that I went, oh, that's right. It's that girl. Because I was like, what the fuck are we doing here? I did not recognize her and didn't know what we were doing in this country club out of nowhere. But of course, she's
Those guys are
embarrassed.
singing that lame ass song, and like all those girls are just like
Fawning
enamored with these men singing this.
And then not only that, in their song, they're
Goofy
mentioning
song.
those girls by name.
Yeah.
Saying like, such and such is doing this and such is doing that. I
And
forget exactly what it was.
And it's like dirty stuff, though. It's not clean.
Well, and the thing is, like, it's not even sung really dirty. It's just kind of like,
it's not sung dirty.
I like how it sounds like something really kind of innocent in a way, because even the girls are kind of like,
it sounds like it, but the lyrics are actually demeaning to the women, and
it is.
It's like they're not getting it, I guess, because I don't know. It's sung to some real classic song. I saw the title, but I can't remember what it was. But Winthrop comes in. He's telling her he's innocent. He's like, he wants all his friends at this club to testify on his behalf. But of course, now that he's been to jail, they don't want nothing to do with him.
Nope.
He asks for a small loan from her, and they're like, nope, you're done. You're done. You've been in jail. We don't want nothing to do with you. And they tell him to get out. So what we do, we cut to Winthrop going to a pawn shop, and he's trying to sell his watch.
And there he was too. I was going to say, like, him getting a taste of his own medicine, so to speak, because that's exactly how he reacted in a way with Billy Ray.
Yep.
Oh,
so it didn't feel good, did it?
Well, hell, he got that right in that first meeting where they planted the money on him. That's how he felt.
That's
he didn't
true,
do
too.
anything, and they had to take him away. That's exactly what happened to Billy Ray. So, yeah. So now he's trying to get any money he can. He sells him his watch, and of course the broker's like, "This thing's got to be hot, it's stolen." He ends up getting $50 for it, and then he sees a gun. He's like, "How much is that gun?" You don't see him buy it, but you can kind of figure. Now we cut to some fancy party. We see Billy Ray, and And this time Winthrop's looking in from the outside. So now he's one of those people on the outside that we saw in the beginning where he was always the one being pampered.
Oh, I forget too. Is he at this point in the Christmas and the Santa Claus outfit?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. No, he's just in his normal clothes right now. And they're sitting around at this dinner table, and the guy's telling this joke about how he put a big S on top of these cars. That way, when the cars took off, he could say, "Oh, look, S cargo." And Billy Ray's fake laughing because he has no idea what it is. Escargot.
Yeah.
Of course, what snails, right? Escargots are the snails. Yes, I had to think about what it was.
Yeah, only the French would come up with that.
And then they start asking Billy Ray for his opinion on different trades, and I forgot what he tells them. He gives them some good advice. They laugh, and then you see Winthrop walking away outside because he sees them laughing at whatever Billy Ray's saying, and now he's like, made me think maybe that he probably never got those guys to laugh. More than likely,
Yeah.
he probably just So now we cut back. Winthrop's back at Ophelia's. He's sick. He's in the bed with a fever. And here comes a knock on the door, and it's some client looking to get with Ophelia, and she turns him away. And he comes in, he's like, no, we need the money. You go do that. But she's like, no, we're fine. And she strips down to her underwear and gets in bed just to keep him warm, which of course he kind of likes. And she's like, oh, don't do that. I'm just protecting my investment.
In today's world, like viewing that with the pandemic going on, her getting in bed while he's sick, I'm like, oh God. Don't do it.
Crazy chat.
Oh, so next morning, his fever's still a little high, but it's definitely dropped way down. We learn it's Christmas Eve, and Ophelia is going shopping for some stuff. And Winthrop just is reading the paper, and Billy Ray has made the paper now. And he's like, I'm going to give him a Christmas he'll never forget. So it's like, what's he going to do? And
Chris, he was doing just fine that morning until that paper sets him off.
Well, I mean, he was upset the night before, so.
Well, she calmed him down, basically. And she was like, get some rest and you'll be okay. And then he sees that paper and he's like, okay, screw that. I'm getting out of bed.
You're right, because here's your part. We cut to the dinner party. We don't know who it is yet. We see this dirty Santa. Like, it's dirty Santa costume.
Right? Oh, God. I'm like, where the fuck did he dig this out of?
And then on top of that, he shows up drunk off his, what?
But we see this dirty Santa stealing all this food, like big things like ham and everything.
Stuffing the salmon
in there. Oh, man.
And then
was gross like later on.
Yeah. And we cut to Billy Ray, and now he's in the office looking at these paychecks, and he's kind of getting curious about this one for Clarence Beaks getting way too much money. And then we actually see Dirty Santa is Winthrop. We see him. He's taking like a bunch of shots of everything, like you said, stealing the drinks, stealing more food. Now we cut back. It's a bunch of quick cuts in this scene. Billy Ray's suspicious about the check to Beaks. He's like, I don't know this employee. He's talking to the brothers, and of course, he's telling this to the brothers, and they're telling him, whatever. And then we get a scene of Randolph gloating about winning the bet. I'm going to accept the Nobel Prize. And Mortimer says, the bet's not over yet. Billy Ray's done good, but the other guy has to turn to crime, and that hasn't happened yet. But we're getting there. Because now we get Winthorpe.
I'll just call him Louis.
Yeah, Lewis is, I guess. Does he say Louis or Lewis?
Well, she calls him Louis, but Ophelia does.
Yeah.
But his real name is Louis.
Louis. It's, playful name. William, Billy.
Right.
But
so
now we get.
You can call him Louis like Ophelia.
There you go. So Louis is in Billy Ray's office, and what's he doing? He's planting drugs, and Billy Ray walks in. And Louis starts calling for the brother. Look, I found him. Look, he's a drug pusher. Look at all these drugs I found. So he's going and bought a shit ton of drugs. Plus this gun. I don't know where he's getting all this money from because he got $50 for that watch. I don't know how much the gun costs, but and of course, when he does this, when he puts all the drugs in, Randolph has this smirk on his face because at this point he knows he's won the bet. He's like, he has turned to crime. This Billy Ray right now, he gets on the phone, he calls security, and this is when Louis pulls out the gun. And Billy Ray's on the phone with security, and he's just like, Merry Christmas. Oh, but now security and a couple other security guards come in. Louis points the gun at him, backs out, jumps on the table. He jumps on the table in the party hall with everyone and points it at everyone and walks out with a smirk. Like he feels like he's accomplished something, but obviously he hasn't. So I don't know what the hell he's happy about. And then Billy Ray tells the brothers, a man like that belongs behind bars. And the brothers tell him, yeah, but he's unemployed. He has no money. And Billy Ray brings up a good point. He's like, but he has no money, but he's got money for all these drugs. These aren't my drugs. It's like, where the hell this? He's like, you can't be soft on people like that. I know, I was one of those people. He says that. And then this is where you get Louis being super, super drunk, Chris. Like he's stumbling down the stairs, still drinking out of the brown paper bag.
And actually, he's kind of creepy in these moments here because he kind of walks like a little zombie and he's like stumbling, and then he's also making growling noises.
We get the grunts in a little bit, yeah. First, we get to see Billy Ray. He goes into the bathroom and he's wanting to smoke some weed, right? But he wants to get it up by the vent, so he stands on the toilet seat. And then all of a sudden, the brothers come in, so he stays up there, and they're like looking under. Like if I'm gonna take the time to look under a stall, I'm gonna look under and up, so I can see if someone is on the seat. If I'm gonna take that much time. And then
through the crack in the door.
That's true too.
Chris, you have that story, so
what? Whoa, dude.
Dude.
Well, that was different because those stalls didn't have the regular stalls. They had like closet doors for stalls.
And like the guy didn't even lock his stall.
No, he didn't.
Chris just assumed it was empty. He opened the door, and there's guys taking a poop on the thing. And he's like, whoa, dude.
It's like, you should have locked the door.
He should have locked the door. But Chris, I remember you telling us afterwards that you could see out when you were in there. You couldn't see in, but you could see out. No, I should have said something.
If you were in the stall, because it had those blind things or something like that on the door. So
it was like that one time I was on a flight out to California from here, and I finally had my chance to get up, and it was like 5.5 hour flight. So I finally had my chance to get up and go use the bathroom because the light was off. Because whenever anybody uses the bathroom on a flight, the light comes on. So I get up and I mosey onto the back, open the door, and there's a guy taking a shit in there, and he's like, "Whoops, sorry." I'm like, "You didn't even lock the door?" And like, what made me even more uncomfortable was that the flight attendant was standing right there next to me, so she got an eyeful of everything too, and she just kind of looked at me and started like smiling. Like, you could tell she wanted to laugh, but she was trying to remain professional.
Yeah.
And so anyway, she like stepped to the side and allowed me to go back to my seat. Oh man, that was so uncomfortable. And then like the guy, like he sat like a couple rows behind me. So like when we got off the flight, like we passed each other a couple times. Like, man, this is uncomfortable.
So lesson here, folks: lock the door when you go to the bathroom.
Yeah, really, it's simple.
I was like, that dude was probably either like wanting somebody to find him, or like he was waiting for somebody to join him in the bathroom there. Which I don't know how you do that on a plane bathroom. Those things are smaller. You can't even have sex with yourself in those things.
Somehow people there's some people that manage.
People manage. I'm not one of them, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, once they've cleared, make sure all the bathroom stalls are empty. Randolph wants Mortimer to pay up. And this is when we learn that this bet, where they literally took a man, put him out on the streets, and turned his life into crime, all over $1 bet.
Yeah.
Like, how low do you have to be just for their own enjoyment, basically? This is for their enjoyment, to prove that they could do it.
And I felt bad too, by the way, for Billy there, because he
realized
had that joint. He had that joint, but then he had to put it in his mouth.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh my god! Like I would have like screamed bloody murder. I just would have thrown that damn thing in the toilet. He was just like, he just stuffed it in his mouth. And
but because he was standing on it, he couldn't lift up the seat.
Yeah.
But yeah, that and this, they even tell, they're like, see, we turned a psychopath Billy Ray Valentine into an executive, and turned Winthorpe into a criminal.
I wonder if that's true though. In like big fancy places like that, they actually have toilet lids instead of just the toilet seats. Like
I wouldn't be surprised. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised.
Most public bathrooms have like just the toilet seat there. They don't have the lid.
Well, and now that you bring up a good point, because like for low wage workers, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, but I'm surprised there's a fancy place that was. They didn't have a bathroom attendant in the bathroom.
Yeah, so, you're right.
Then again, that's what they wouldn't have been able to have that private meeting in the bathroom.
That's true.
If they had someone there listening.
And Mortimer tells Randolph, he's like, they say, they're going to send Billy Ray out. They don't want Lewis back after what he's turned to. And Mortimer, I'm not even going to say it. He says he doesn't want a bad name running his company. And I was like,
he said the N word. That's right. He said the N word in that moment.
Which that made me, I was like, oh. But again, they're just illustrating how awful
these people
those
are.
two characters are.
Yeah. And they are. And we see that very well. So then we get Billy Ray. He's leaving the building. He actually sees Lewis, and this is where he's stumbling around real bad. And he yells for him. He's like, hey, Lewis, hey, Lewis. And this is where he turns and just grunts at him.
Yeah, he does that like.
Yeah.
It's just like it's kind of creepy.
Resident Evil.
Yep. That's a zombie Santa Claus.
Yeah, basically. So Billy Ray goes chasing after him. He ends up pulling off the beard of the wrong Santa because he doesn't see him at first. We see Lewis get onto a bus, and Billy Ray just misses him, of course. Lewis sits next to some woman. She immediately gets up. And this is where he pulls out the salmon or whatever. Starts eating it.
Eating it through his beard, too.
Yeah, through his beard, and like in a very animalistic way. Yeah. He's like tearing the flesh and the meat. Ugh.
Very zombie-like. I think that was probably, I bet you that was his motivation there.
Well, I mean, this is
because he even walked like one right there and to catch the bus because like he didn't even know the bus was coming until he turned around.
Yeah, you're right. It just happened to be there, and then he gets off and a dog pisses on his shoe.
Oh, that was
bad. On his leg. Yeah,
and then the rain starts.
It starts to rain on him, and then he puts the gun to his head and pulls the trigger, and it doesn't even fire.
Yep,
like he's ready to end it all. But then he throws the gun, and it does fire.
And it fires on the window.
Oh, so Lewis finally gets back to Ophelia's, and she's decorating the tree. Chad, we talked about this. Who decorates the tree on Christmas Eve? We learned it's Christmas Eve.
Yeah, who does that? You might as well not even do it at that point.
Well, and then she was doing your favorite thing, Chad, on the tree. She was putting those little icicle things.
Oh, yeah, the tinsel.
The tinsel stuff.
God, those are awful.
Yeah.
I hate those fucking things. They get everywhere.
I don't like them either.
They're just a big mess, and they're bad for the environment. On top of that,
okay.
Of course,
I know they're
the
a big
80s
mess
when nobody gave a shit. But
you're right about that. So,
but if you still use tinsel, stop it. Make it a New Year's resolution this year to not use tinsel this year on your tree.
Okay, crazy. There you go. So Lewis ends up bringing
just like yes, very
an
sad.
Environmental.
Well,
note
anyway,
from Chad. Captain America.
Hey,
it's
my
Captain Planet.
My bi-weekly PSA.
So Lewis stumbles off into the bedroom. We don't know what he's doing yet. Billy Ray arrives. I guess he was able to catch up to him. I don't know how else he would know to come to her house, right? But he missed it, so I don't really know how he finds his way there. Seems like a strange. Did you guys see anything? I can't remember anything where he actually.
I can't. I just kind of remember he just shows up at the apartment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I just assume maybe there was a moment where he caught Winthorpe going into the bus. And then maybe he just followed the bus from there somehow.
Maybe
Coolman drive him or something. Follow that bus.
No, he definitely not doing that.
He wouldn't be Coleman because Coleman wasn't around.
Maybe took a cab or something.
Yeah,
follow that bus. I want to do that once in my life, just like being in a big city like New York and getting a cab, like follow that car.
So Ophelia's like, when he asks for Lewis, Ophelia goes in there to find her to tell him that guy's here, that guy that you say frames you here. But of course, he's passed out in the tub. He's trying a different method of trying to do some suicide. He took a whole bunch of pills here, and he does end up surviving.
Red pills, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were red pills, which is kind of funny. Matrix.
He took the red pill. He chose
a lot
the
of red pills.
Yeah, it wasn't just one. He was
That's
like,
true.
I'm really going to wake up on this.
Yeah. So then we see Lewis. He's waking up in a hospital bed. Of course, no, not in a hospital bed. He's in the bedroom.
He's in his old bed.
His old bed.
His old bed.
You're right.
And he's like, oh, Coleman, it was just a dream.
But then he sees
Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz moment because I think then he's in there and goes like, and you were there. You were there.
But then he sees Billy Ray and he's mad. He jumps out of bed and says, "It was you. This is your fault." He starts choking him, and Billy Ray sitting there like being choked, saying, "It's the Dukes.
It's the Dukes."
And Billy Ray tells him about the whole thing and tells him it was all over $1 bet.
And Coleman confirms the story.
Now here's the part too where
I was
like with Coleman, okay? I was like, so they got him on the plan to frame Louis about the whole thing, and he actually went through it, but now he has a change of heart and is like, oh, I'm going to help out Louis.
I mean, I think once.
I mean, I know he wasn't a
once
fan of the Dukes by any means.
No, but I mean, he was an employee,
but you never saw him go like, or did he? Do you guys remember a part where he told Louis like, I'm so sorry, sir?
I don't know if he said I'm sorry, but you could tell he was very apprehensive about going through with the plan at the beginning anyway. So you could tell he didn't really like it. But once the plan sort of unraveled, once Eddie Murphy's character figured everything out, and Louis figured what's the point in even going along with it?
I guess, but it just seems really weird to be like, oh, I serve you the whole life, and then I turn on you, and now I'm back with you.
I think
honestly, you don't know how long he's been serving Louis though.
Yeah, because this is the house they give to their top executives, so it seems like they switch him out pretty often. But also, you can tell he doesn't care about Louis. Like he seems annoyed every time. Like when he's doing the dinner, and then they tell him to go have the dessert, and he's just scraping in the tray. He just doesn't care.
You kind of also get the feeling that Louis just kind of treats him exactly like a servant. This sort of lower class, like pish posh. Get out of my sight,
maybe. But then from this point forward, they kind of become buddies.
Well, yeah, because I mean,
I think that's the Billy Ray effect.
He wants to help take down the awful Duke.
Awful Duke, but also it's because Billy Ray treated him like a person, and so he's really I think going along with it with Billy.
Billy Ray definitely didn't have Coleman doing everything like
yeah. So I think that's more of a Billy Ray thing, that he wants to help him.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we get a scene of Louis, he's loading a shotgun, and Billy Ray says, "No, man, that's not the answer. The way you get back at a rich person is make them poor. That's
exactly what hit them in the wallet. That's exactly what you do, because you know what? Well, a lot of those rich fuckers, they would rather kill themselves than have to live like the rest of us.
I mean, if you think about it, the Dukes, that was the whole movie. That was the whole thing they loved right there.
Their money
was their money, and how much they were getting every day.
So you take that away from them, you take everything away from
their
them.
Weakness.
Yep, it is. And they're sitting there watching TV, and they actually show Clarence Beeks on TV, and Ophelia tells them,
she's like, "Hey, Louis, that's the guy.
That's the guy that paid me to to talk dirty to you in front of your girl." So they realize that he's been paid to find out some kind of secret information about this frozen OJ before it comes out. He's got some file they need. And they're going to corner the OJ market. Well, it's all about the crops. They're waiting. They're waiting on this big announcement about whether or not the farmers are going to have a good season.
Yeah.
Because if they have a bad season and they buy it all up early, they'll make a ton of money. If they have a good season, that's what's going to lower the price.
Yeah.
So I make sure, I don't know if you understand this or not. So I'm telling you how I got it. Well, we'll talk about it when we get
that the more you're going to, because again, when we get to that part,
I'll leave this for you to
explain. When it got to that part, like what you just explained makes sense too. I was like, okay, I get that part. But then like the actual process when they go
like when
through
they're
it,
for the numbers and everything,
that
then finally
later
like,
on,
sell,
that's where I sit there and I go, that flies over my head.
So now we get Clarence Beeks. He's getting on this train because, like I said, he's gone and got this file. So he's trying to get this file to the Duke brothers. I think they're going to get it like 2 days ahead of the time of when this is going to actually be.
And this is the point where it's New Year's, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, in fact, there's a big party on this train because it's New Year's.
Yep. And you know what it kind of reminded me of to a degree? Terror Train.
I knew you were going to say Terror Train.
You knew. Yes. Well, she was on that big party train as well in that movie.
Well, there you go. And who was in the gorilla suit? Anybody?
Yes. Blues Brother.
Yep. Jim Belushi.
Thank you.
Who was in our Jingle All the Way episode as a Santa. So now he's
that's right.
We're connecting all these movies, people. We're connecting everything. And then you got these two guys pulling up, and they're carrying an actual gorilla. So we've seen the guy in the suit. Now we got an actual gorilla. Chris,
and how random is this? How random is this stuff right here that comes up? An actual gorilla.
Did you recognize one of the guys on the cart?
Yeah. Oh my God. he's a politician too, I think. So
He is now.
yeah, I'm trying to think.
Oh, Al Franken.
Thank you.
Al Franken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very young Al Franken.
Yes.
And they're arguing because he's like, it's my turn to drive. No, it's my turn. I'm like, oh my goodness. Meanwhile, while they're having this argument, you get a cut of Beaks inside the train car looking at this actual gorilla, and he's mocking the gorilla. Like, that's,
Yeah.
I don't know. As a grown man, I don't see how he got enjoyment out of that. Like,
I don't
as
either.
a kid,
Yeah.
I'd understand it, but he's a
But then at
grown
that
man.
point, it pretty much foreshadows like, okay, something's going to happen with the gorilla.
That you're right. That's what it's really doing, is that it's showing that these two are going to meet up someday, somewhere down the line here. But
Yeah.
it's just a weird thing to think.
My God,
Like, why
Chris,
the
that's
hell would he do that?
amazing. It's like psychic powers. What am I thinking?
You're thinking
It's like you have
What's the next
ESPN
part?
or something.
Exactly, Chris.
well, I can also predict the weather. You know how? I touch my boobies.
Your boobs know when it's raining.
Yep.
Oh goodness. Mean Girls references. I love
But it
it.
doesn't predict it. Actually, it has to rain. That's what I've heard of it, to actually know like what the percentage of rainfall is.
Yeah. So Billy Ray ends up going into the train car with Beast, but he's dressed in like all this African garb, and he says, "Merry New Year."
Merry New Year! Happy New Year. In this country, we say Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Beast, he's like, over here it's Happy New Year. In this culture, we say Happy New Year. And he
Which,
says,
oh God,
What?
that whole mess. The whole, like in this country we say
Yeah.
blah blah blah. Like,
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It was the 80s, but he explains he was there you go. That's a good one. He's an exchange student from Cameroon, and
which is where isn't that where that what was that one drag queen, Zahara Benet or Zahara
You're talking BB Zahara.
BB Zahara? Yeah, she's from
Never
Cameroon.
mind. That's a drag race reference.
Oh,
Which
yeah,
is what
I'm
I
not
thought
gonna
of
get that.
the video when
Yeah.
they said he was from Cameroon. I'm like, oh, that's where that drag queen's from.
Oh, love it, Chad. Love it. So he starts doing this chanting and singing in his native tongue, and then he's like, beef jerky time. He's like, you want some beef jerky? I'd have been like, hell yeah, I love beef jerky.
I think that would have been Chris's worst nightmare. Chris hates that jerky,
I
dried
just don't
meat
like
shit.
it.
Chris gets like nauseated if he has to smell it. Chris like, "Ugh, ugh." Like Chris used to hate it when I would eat Slim Jims in the car.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that bad. I just didn't. I mean, I didn't like the smell of it, but it wasn't like it was permeating everywhere. But if it was close to me, I was kind of like, yeah.
Then we
Chris
get a
don't
quick.
like meat sticks.
Oh, Chris likes meat sticks.
Oh,
Just not the jerky kind. The dried out jerky.
All right, so now
Okay,
we
enough rat talk. All right, go ahead.
we get them guys. They're giving Al Franken, I don't know his name, and his partner directions about how to take care of this gorilla and make sure you're not drinking and all this. And then we cut back, and Coleman comes dressed in as like an Amish pastor or something. What do you think he is? A pastor?
Oh, like
An
a
Amish
like
person?
He's
Irish
an Irish
priest,
priest.
a Catholic
Mm.
priest. Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
Yeah.
And then he pulls out a flask and asks if they want a drink. I was like, oh, that's nice. And then Ophelia comes in, and she's dressed as Inga from Sweden.
Some Sweden.
And she was
Would you help me with my rucksack?
But then, like, one of the priests, or wasn't like Coleman that was trying to point out that she was dressed in Dutch or something like that. Like
Austrian.
Austrian,
Yeah. She's wearing lederhosen, and the reason that she was supposed to do that, but she couldn't get down the Austrian accent, so she had to go with Sweden.
Oh,
That's right. That's right. And then she's
But
like, and Inga from
Wait,
Sweden.
was
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger not really a thing at this point? It's not a tumor.
I mean, he definitely wasn't as big yet. He had done the Mr. Olympia stuff yet, but he wasn't a
Right.
movie star yet. You gotta
Yeah,
think this
I
is a
guess so.
year before
Yeah.
Terminator came out. So
True. Yeah.
Oh wait, didn't Conan maybe come out around the 84?
Yes,
time?
that's another movie we need to watch. I've never seen Conan.
I never
It's
had
not all the way
it.
through.
Yeah,
Well, I have to admit, I've never
it.
seen it from beginning to end, but I do remember seeing some parts of it.
But anyway, yeah. So she couldn't do the
Yep, there we go.
Austrian accent.
We're
not the
going off
Australian.
track.
But anyway, so Ophelia comes, she starts distracting Beaks, asking her to help put her knapsack up on the the loading thing.
But like
And
I
at this-
said too, she like bends right
With her
over
chest
with her
right in his
chest right
face.
in his face. She's like, "Will you help me?"
And
He's
this
like,
is just
well, I suppose not.
no. And that's why Billy Ray can switch the briefcase. He's switching the empty briefcase so that he can get the one with the important documents in it. Then we cut back to the gorilla and the workers, and they're eating bananas, but the gorilla's taking all the bananas, and they're giving him the
Gorilla,
whole.
and he reaches out for the bananas.
He
too.
reaches out and takes the
Or
whole thing
she,
of
sorry,
bananas.
I guess it's a she.
Yeah, she. And they're like, well, shit, we're still hungry. And instead of one of them going to get food, they both fucking leave this gorilla unattended. I was like, you idiots.
Well, they were kind of portrayed to be that way. So,
Well, you're right.
No
You're right,
surprise
they were.
there, right?
You're right. So, of course, they pass Billy Ray while they're walking. Billy Ray's going into a different train car with Louie. And now we cut back to that little party going on, and we see that the workers are there. And then God, this was bad. This is where we go back to the train car with
Your
with
favorite
Beats.
part, Josh.
I literally could not. I think my jaw dropped. I just couldn't believe they.
Mine
put
did
this.
too.
I
Yeah,
was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Because Dan Aykroyd comes in, Louis comes in. He's dressed like a Rastafarian, like Jamaican type guy,
Yeah,
and he's doing the full blackface. And
Yeah.
I was my jaw dropped.
And the thing
I
is,
was like,
this was bad too, because like it wasn't like he did a good job with trying to cover everything either. If you know, like he even had like it was awful.
Yeah.
Something you can notice, like even the neckline
like,
and his
yeah,
hands.
his
were
hands
not,
were I was noticed
you
that
know,
too.
I mean, you have to imagine like if it was Beak sitting there going like, "Are you kidding me?" Because this is bad. Like I don't believe you.
But he does though. He does it.
I know
buys it.
that's the bad part.
And of course, he's pretending he knows this Billy Ray guy, and they're chanting together. And he pulls out a blunt and lighting it up right on the train car. And I'm like, it's the '80s. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Cigarettes would be one thing. I don't know about a blunt.
Oh yeah.
And so Ophelia once again asks Beaks to help her again. This way that
It's her Swedish meatballs.
Yes, you're right.
Because apparently she keeps that in her knapsack.
Or rucksack.
And of course, Louis is trying to get the briefcase and put it in a bag, but Beaks happens to turn around and look at him when he does that.
Yeah, he's not quite as smooth as Billy was switching the briefcases.
Which I think that goes to show Billy's been doing that kind of thing his whole life.
Exactly.
And this guy is new to this thing. He's never done this. This is the life he's led. So he doesn't really, But anyway, Beaks ends up pulling out a gun on him. Those workers stumble in. They're the ones that left the gorilla unattended. And he's like, I'll rip your eyes out and piss on your brain. It's like, what a lie.
Sounds like something out of a Rob Zombie film.
Well, and,
go there and go fuck the
and
shit
as
out
bad
of
as it
you.
sounds, it sounds like something his principal character in Breakfast Club would say as well.
So Beast ends up taking Ophelia so that he can get out. He's got the briefcase. He's got Ophelia so they don't. And he's going through the train party. He sees Jim Belushi dressed as a gorilla, and then he ends up backing up into the room with the actual gorilla. and then behind him, the man, Jim Belushi dressed as a gorilla comes in. The real gorilla starts getting excited.
Yep.
Oh my God. And that's bad too, because at that point when they walk into that cart with the gorilla, and I was like, of course, Beaks is going to position himself in front of the cage.
In front of the cage, yeah.
Yeah, because he ends up knocking out this fake guy dressed as gorilla, and that makes the real gorilla mad, knock him out.
Bashes, like, she took her fist and just hit him on the top of the
Boom.
head.
Yeah, just like a hammer down right on his
Yeah.
head. You're right. And of course, Louis and Billy Ray come in. They see this. They end up taping him mouth shut and put him in the gorilla costume and put him in the cage with the gorilla, which is kind of crazy because you've got him all taped up. Like he's never getting out of this. Like he can't talk because you can't get him fed.
Yep. And especially when you got those workers there and they're obviously too dumb to think this is a person in a costume, even though obviously it looks like a person in a costume.
And we see a quick shot of Belushi going back to the party in his underwear. He's like, yeah. So, because, obviously they used the gorilla suit on Beaks. I guess they were the same size. It worked. One size fits all, right?
And you know what? These people would be in trouble in real life for sticking someone in a cage with a gorilla.
And what's funny
talk about
is
dangerous and opening the cage with a gorilla in it.
Yeah.
Talk about dangerous. They could have, had it worse.
Yeah. And those guys are back. And of course, just like Beaks was mocking the gorilla in his train car, they're now mocking him. And he's making some of those same noises he was, except this time it's because his mouth is taped shut and he's actually trying to talk. He's trying to get the costume off. I mean, like you say, if you look, you can tell that is a person in a costume, not a gorilla.
Yeah.
Why the hell are you? And you're supposed to be the one taking care of this. You should be able to tell the difference if anyone can. Oh, but of course, while he's doing this, the real gorilla is getting excited and keeps grabbing Beaks from behind. Like, and where do they think another gorilla all of a sudden came from?
Exactly. That's
Like they were taking.
That's what I
care
said
of-
to Chad. I was like,
And like a human,
you just had
gorilla.
there was
on
only
top of
one
that.
gorilla in there. Now you're thinking that there was supposed to be two.
But of course, the gorilla grabs him from behind, and you get a close up of the eyes, which is why I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be a male or a female, because that kind of shot made it look like.
And I know what you mean. I thought they said she, like in the beginning when
they
the
might
gorilla was
have.
first introduced, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe because again, it's like I saw the movie last week, so I may have forgot exactly, but I thought it was a she. So maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, maybe right. I don't know. I'm not sure. I can't remember that. But then we go to cut to this parking garage. The Duke brothers are showing up. They're trying to make this exchange with Beaks in this scene. You see someone dressed in like
You know what it
trench
kind of
coat and
reminds me
stuff.
of? I know this sounds bad, but this part where someone in a trench coat like Beaks, it kind of reminded me of, is it Dick Tracy? Yeah, I think it was Dick Tracy, the movie, like where the villain in that one as well, like you don't know who that is, but they're basically in a shadow the whole time. You see them in a coat and they have like that kind of disguised voice the whole time. And that's what it sort of reminded me of. It reminded me of, because then it turns out it was Madonna who was dressed up as the villain in that movie.
Oh yeah.
So
Way to
and
spoil
then-
Dick Tracy for everyone, Chris.
Well, it's been 30
It's been
years.
30 years.
If you haven't seen it at this point, well, then shame on you.
Like it was Breathless Mahoney the whole time. The whole time.
But yeah, so we see them pass the envelope to the brothers, and then we see the light. It lights up and shows us that it's actually Billy Ray, which I think we all knew it was already Billy Ray, but they felt the need to show us anyway. And then we cut to all of them: Coleman and Louie and Ophelia and Billy Ray, and
He makes his move. He kisses Ophelia.
he kisses Ophelia, and then
Music's playing. It's glorious.
no, not all that. Louie and Billy Ray head off, and they're it's like
Well,
we're
and
about
then
to
on
make
top
them
of that,
all
they
rich.
did. Yeah, I was gonna say they gave them their life money,
Their life savings,
their life
yeah.
savings. Ophelia and Coleman.
She tells him, "Be careful." It took me a long time to save
Mhm.
that up. Which I mean, I don't blame her. That was
I don't- but
$40,000.
you know what?
Like,
To have that much money, she must have not have been a cheap hooker.
it's true, she was a sort of middle class hooker.
She didn't make it sound like she had clientele like regular.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'd say she sounded popular.
Mhm.
So we cut to Louie and Billy Ray. They're walking down, and they walk into the Twin Towers. And Louie even says the line, "In this building, it's kill or be killed," because that's how cutthroat Wall Street is. And I was reading that now after 9/11 happened, they cut that scene out of a lot of this when it gets shown on TV because of it being in the Twin Tower and saying kill or be killed. So I can see
Damn.
why. Yeah.
And Jed's kind of like, really?
I can't see.
I have no,
Chad decided he didn't want to be on camera anymore. So
Yeah, I have opinions about it, but I'm not going to say anything. But anyway, go ahead.
So now we cut to the Duke brothers, and they're sitting there saying they're telling their guy, they got a guy that goes out there and is buying all this stuff, and he's like, buy as much OJ as you can once Trading Star. I don't care if the price goes up, just keep buying. We need it all.
And meanwhile, they're in a fancy room watching it all from above.
Yeah, they're like in
They're like almost like
skybox.
Yeah, skybox. Exactly. There you go.
Which is like watching those boring things. But I mean, they're going to watch they're hoping
Well, if
that
you
they're going
think
to watch
about
their money, their numbers climb.
Right. I was gonna say, if you think
So it's
about it,
entertaining
it's
for
their
them, I suppose.
it's their Madison Square Garden
Exactly.
sports game.
That's true.
Basically, is what they're watching.
It's their WrestleMania.
It's their WrestleMania. Who's going to get the orange juice this year?
Oh my god!
It's a slobber knocker.
Then we cut to the bathroom. Louis and Billy Ray are just cleaning up, and then this bell rings, and like every stall empties. Like these guys were just, I guess, hanging out,
And
until
they
it was
didn't
time.
wash their hands.
Well, I don't even know if they were going to the bathroom, because as soon as the bell rang, they all came out. Like they were just sitting in there, almost hiding until it was time to actually go to the floor
They
or
were
something.
sitting there trying to calm their
Maybe,
nerves
but
or
still,
psych themselves up a little
Oh yeah,
bit.
they still should wash their hands.
still,
I
you're in
agree,
a
but-
stall, and
Yeah, you're in the bathroom. A lot of
Ugh.
nasty germs are just
you never know what
hanging
touched
around.
those
Yeah.
doors and those handles in there.
And there's a lot of people there. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
It's like using a bathroom at one of the Dragon Con conventions or something. You're like, I don't like breathing the air in here.
So they go into the room, they're trading everything, and they realize that this Duke buyer is going to drive the price of this OJ up. And now the clock officially strikes 9 a.m. and that's when the trading starts. And boy, it goes crazy. People just
Oh
it's a
yelling about
madhouse.
shit.
Yeah.
And that's that's actually the note I have. It's a madhouse.
Like
And-
just watching that, I had anxiety. I can't imagine actually being
Right.
there on the floor doing that shit. Like, ugh.
yeah, and these people were crawling on each other too.
Oh
and,
god. Yeah.
and can you imagine too, like, and after it's done, the mess, all that paper that's laying around, and someone has to go in there and clean it.
Yep.
Yes. Very sad.
Mhm.
Well, anyway.
You're right. You're right. They go in there and they're watching the price, and they're watching it go up and go up and go up on this orange juice because it's being bought up so much. That's gonna, the more you buy stuff, it's gonna drive that price up, at least at first.
Okay.
But then they wait, and then they start selling, and they sell at a high point because they know about where it's going to go.
Yeah,
from
what
these
was it, like
documents.
142, I think, right? They were
Yeah,
waiting
that
for it to
sounds
reach
about right.
142, and they're like, okay, buy it now.
Oh wait, so
No, that's when they start selling it. They start
Selling
selling
it,
it because
yes,
it's going to
that's right.
start dropping.
okay, so just to make sure, because this is the part where it kind of like flies over me, the process
Same.
part. So are we saying like 142 is the start base for the price? Is
It's
that
the-
right?
No,
Buying-
the start base started. Well, I don't remember what it started at.
But it was higher than that, much higher.
lower,
right?
lower.
No, it was lower.
Much lower,
Yeah,
okay.
they're waiting
They-
for it to reach up to 142.
Yeah, they wanted it
So
to reach.
They want the
142
numbers to go high, keep going high, right?
to a certain extent. See,
Yeah.
the Duke brothers are hoping it's going to keep going higher and higher based on these fake reports they've seen. So it's kind of funny because to do this, they've also done illegal insider trading because
Yeah.
they're using the reports that this guy had stolen for them. So either way, some illegal trading was going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right. I think $1.42 was the number. They wait till it gets up there, and then they start selling all their stocks. And after they
Mhm.
do, the number starts to come down, and then we get this Secretary of Agriculture to come on TV because the whole thing is they want to see what the crop estimate, the orange crop specific estimates are, because they've had a cold winter and they're thinking that it's going to be bad, and that's why they want to drive the price up and corner the market. But no, it didn't affect it. They're going to have a good one. And when he says that, the prices plummet to like, I think like 40 cents, 30 cents.
Something like that. Yeah.
Like it, and they're going to stay low. And now everyone, of course, is trying to sell. And of course, one of the Duke brother faints, or not the brother, the Duke, the guy they had sold the Duke, sent out there to buy the stocks and shit. He faints out in the middle of this crowd because he's like, "Oh shit, I'm fucked up." They pull him out, and the Duke brother, "No, get in there. You got to sell this. You got to sell it." And Billy Ray and them say they're rich now.
Oh wait,
And more-
like what's the part where they like? What's the? Is it after the news report where Dana or Louis yells out something to get the crowd to give them the paperwork?
I mean, yeah, he starts yelling, and that's when they start coming to him with. I don't know how all that works exactly.
What did he yell out? Do you know what he yelled out? Because I never
don't
could figure it
remember.
out.
I don't remember what he
I should have
yelled.
had subtitles on when that moment was going on, but
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just something about selling, though. I don't think it's.
so I'm curious, like for them, what did they have in order for all those people to suddenly give them the money?
Everybody has their own slips, like trading slips, basically.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how the actual exchanges go, but it's just these slips are what you. I guess you get slips for what you plan on buying stocks in before you go in there. I guess you already got all your stuff ready to go.
So I'm wondering for them, were they, because they had the information report,
Mm-hmm.
they were waiting until it got low for them to.
No, they wanted
Like-
it to get to a certain height because they knew at a certain height it was going to top out. before it dropped, and you want to sell. If you know that number, which you're not supposed to do, that's insider trading.
Yeah, you
But
want
if
to
you
sell
know
at the
that
highest
number-
price possible. Yeah.
Yep. It's buy low, sell high.
Yep.
So they bought some up, and then when it got to that $1.42, they're like, it's time to sell. They knew that they might have a couple extra cents to go, but they knew it wasn't going much higher. So they sold everything they could at that point, and then because if it drops back down, you've more than likely you've lost
Profited.
money. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That's crazy. That's so like
it's a lot. I
Yeah,
mean, I
it's a
don't
lot to take
understand it,
in.
and that's part of the reason why
like I get
people
bits
get
and
taken
pieces
advantage
of it here,
with
but I'm
the
sitting there
whole
like, man, there's more
Wall
questions.
Street
Bro.
Stock Exchange bullshit.
Yeah. Well, hell, Eddie Murphy didn't know it either. He just read the lines and went with it. He said he didn't know what was going on either at the time. So
Yeah, I don't blame him. It sounds confusing.
That should be something I should read up on. I should buy a book.
Right? We really should.
You know, Wall Street investing for dummies or something.
But Louis and Billy Ray are now rich.
You combine Winthrop
Combine
and Billy. So Team Willie.
Exactly. And Mortimer has the nerve to ask them how they could do that to them. How could you do this to us after what they did? And I love it. And I'm like, well, turns out we made a bet that we could get rich and make you guys poor. And Billy Ray's like, and I won the bet. And Louis hands him over $1. They did it over $1 bet.
And it turned out that the Duke brothers were like what $300 and some million in debt,
and all their
because of
assets
that.
were being frozen right then and there.
I say, yeah, because they
And
are
their house being sold and all that stuff too.
Yeah, brokers want $394 million in cash by the end of the day.
Yeah,
he's like, we don't have that kind of money in cash.
Yeah, and then Randolph's having a heart attack, and Mortimer, he's like, I don't care, fuck him.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Mortimer, your brother's not well. We better call an ambulance. Fuck him!
And Don Ameche was playing a good Christian man. So not playing a good Christian man, was a Christian man at this time in his life.
Mhm.
And he said, you better get it right on the one time. I'm only saying this word once. So that's the take
Damn.
they used, which is funny.
He did a good job because
He
it
did-
was
he did a good
very
job.
convincing.
But when I read that, I was like, okay, he had a huge problem saying fuck him, but I didn't read anything about him having a problem saying the other stuff he said. In this
Good
movie.
point. Good
Which-
point. Yeah.
Which goes to show what religion brings. This is why we
Thank
can't
you,
go down
Josh.
that
Thank
road,
you for
but
saying it. Preach it to the choir. Say it again for the people in the back.
I'm like, he has a problem saying the word fuck, but he doesn't have a problem slandering people because of the color of their skin. Like,
Exactly.
yeah. And that's the real person, not the character. So
And yeah, exactly. That's
Josh,
whatever his face
Josh
is.
is just saying, y'all. Just saying.
just saying, take it for what you will.
Hashtag just saying.
But yeah, so they've lost their money. They're poor now. They show up as the homeless guys and Coming to America. They're the ones on the street. Which hell, after that, Prince Akeem shouldn't have given them money either. He
After
should have
all
said,
that,
"Well, keep
yeah,
being
they
homeless."
can't give him all that money. We're back.
Yeah, and they probably went back to exactly how they were.
Yeah, what was it he
Probably.
said when she asked him what he's like, I just gave him some pocket change.
Yeah, pocket change. Yeah, and then we cut back to the gorilla and Beaks are being taken back to Africa. I'm like, oh my goodness, like these people do not know this is not a real gorilla. And I wrote down the note. I was like, well, I guess he'll never be able to eat again because if they're not going to check him, he's got duct taped over his mouth.
He's gonna die of
He was then, like,
dehydration.
dehydrated by then, and
yeah.
I mean, you can only live but days without water. You can live weeks without food, but
well,
days
even
without
overnight,
water,
it's kind of like
yeah, he'd be dead.
Something would be wrong with that gorilla. You would think.
Well, let's check his temperature. Turn him
For
over.
real.
Let's check it in the butt.
Be like, wait a minute. There's a zipper on this thing.
What the hell? Let's go. Oh shit. Yeah. Then we get the last scene. It's Billy Ray and Coleman. They're rich. They're living on the beach. They have their own servant. Coleman finally gets his own servant after being a servant all these years.
And
then
he has a girlfriend now too, or at least a girlfriend from the islands.
Coleman. Yeah, he's got a lady friend.
And same thing with Billy Ray.
Yeah.
Billy Ray suddenly has a girlfriend now.
That makes sense. And then we see Louis and Ophelia out on a boat in the water, and they're having some nice drinks. And that's how it is.
Nice.
It did look really nice.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I was sitting there going, I kind of want to go to the Bahamas now or something.
I want to go where the waters are blue like that.
Oh, that'd be gorgeous.
It would. I agree
And-
with that.
Damn it.
Do it like on a Christmas or some holiday and be like, get away for the holidays in the Bahamas.
All right, so
Well, I don't know, depending how cold it would be.
I have to work on my tan first, though. I have to go.
No,
to
you
the
don't.
tanning
You can get it
salon.
there. That's why you go
Yeah,
there.
get it
No,
there.
because no, what you do is you work on getting your tan here, so you don't get sunburnt like you did, like Naomi did in Mama's Family, and like,
Well,
have your
I
whole
mean-
trip ruined.
To be fair,
Ruined.
To be yeah, Josh's got a point
to
here.
be fair, before I went to Cancun all those years ago, I went and bought a month's worth of the tanning bed and went
True.
went 8 times.
That's why you had that glow to you.
I remember that because I remember Josh having those appointments he would go to.
I had appointments to get ready so that I could handle that Mexican sun. They told me.
Yeah.
I probably had to do that
hit
too,
differently.
considering because my skin is sensitive to it. So
And I'm not sensitive. You know me.
no,
I've
you're
always-
lucky. You've always been able to tan since you were a kid.
And they still told me I needed to probably do something like that. So, yeah,
Damn.
that's why I did it.
That's
But
why
now-
I think if
See,
we
he's
down
got
there,
the
we
good
have
hair
to-
gene and he's got the good skin gene for tanning easily.
I hate you, Josh.
For reals.
I hate you and your whole fucking family.
Well, I'm still fat, so there's that. I don't have it all,
Portly, you mean
Chad.
portly. You're portly.
Oh,
You mean, no, you mean thick with a double C.
well,
Josh
Chad, we
Dick.
all know you're the hot guy on the internet.
Oh,
That's true. That's true.
Chris, did you
Yes.
see that? Chris, did you see that exchange?
I did not. What happened with that?
I was lost at first because all I saw on my notifications was like, Chad, quit being so hot. And I was like, what is this?
I did not see this. I have to go in there and look for it now.
It was some lady, right? She was talking about.
No, this is a guy.
Oh, it was a guy. It was
This
some
is a
person.
guy-
Some person was
No,
talking
it's a
about.
guy. This is Caleb from the Paranormal Burrito podcast. Let's give him credit.
Nice. Nice.
Okay.
So say hi to Caleb.
Hi, Caleb. I'm sorry. Hi, Caleb. No, but there he had posted something about like dating profiles or something, and
He's talking about how hot guys post. It doesn't matter how you look, and then they post a
Yes.
shirtless photo,
A
and get
shirtless
10,000
photo.
likes.
and then
He's
he
like-
mentioned the name Chad in there. He's like, what did
He's like,
what
I'm
did he
sorry,
say?"
Chad, but looks are the only thing that gets you likes on this fucking app.
That's right. And then
So
Josh
I-
responded to it.
I
and he
read that.
tagged
and
me in
tagged
there.
I was like, yeah, Chad.
And then Caleb responded. He's like, quit being so hot, Chad.
In all caps.
In all caps.
Damn it, Chad. You took away the title, man.
Oh, yes.
That was funny. I was so lost though. I was like, what the fuck is going on here?
Well, it's just kind of like, you just got famous now. So now you're going to explode all over the internet.
That's how it happens. Those are the rules. I don't make the
Hashtag
rules,
Chad's
Chad.
hot.
Hashtag Chad is hot. There we go. All right. Back to wrap up this
There you
episode.
go.
We're going to go to our listeners to see what they thought about trading places.
Mail, motherfucker!
So the Watcher Not podcast says, I always thought it was funny how the homeless guys in Coming to America that Eddie gives his money to are the Dukes from this movie. Yep, that was the main thing I knew before I watched this movie. Is like I remember that the old guys were the homeless guys in Coming to America.
It took me years to figure that out on like when I was a kid because Coming to America was the first movie I saw between the two.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize until after seeing Trading Places for a while that I was like, oh, it's the same guy.
Honestly, I didn't think about it until
I mean, it was later.
we did a podcast and Josh had mentioned that one of the podcast things we were talking about. I don't remember which episode it was, or if it was on on the cinematic blind spot. I don't remember. It was some podcast you had mentioned. You're like talking about how the two movies were sort of linked together, and I didn't think about it until I actually started watching this movie last week, and I saw the two guys and I was like, oh, that's what, and suddenly I had that flashback. Yeah, so I made the connection.
Chad had that big epiphany.
It was
like, it's the same guy.
The light bulb finally went off.
Yeah.
That's usually what works with me. I have a delay with the light bulb.
His inner Jessica Fletcher came out and figured out the mystery there.
Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah, I was like,
oh yeah, Jessica Fletcher.
Uh-huh,
See,
there you go.
right there. Yeah.
Who was that?
That's fine.
Murder,
I
She
like
Wrote.
Angela
Oh,
Lansbury.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
I never know that character's name.
Cove.
All right, so the
Which is a great
invasion.
series, by the way.
Okay, take your word on it. Chad. I'm not going back and watching Murder She Wrote. I'm just not. I just don't have time for that.
Yes, very sad. Well, anyway.
The Invasion of the Remake podcast says such a fun movie and still relevant in a lot of ways, although some
Yes.
parts are a bit problematic in today's climate.
Well, you know,
Very
here's the
much
thing.
so.
Like some parts, it is problematic, but then on the other hand, I sit there and I go, that had to somehow also be the intent, because I do think it's to show the issues that have been ongoing for a long time and continues to still go to today. So we have to recognize it as problematic in order to be like, oh yeah, this is a wrong thing that is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I agree. But as I was talking about the guy I work with, he still does not see this movie as problematic. He's like, oh, it was
No,
done for
'cause you know what,
comedy.
Is that guy older? Is he
Older
old?
white male.
Yeah, see, I mean, it's a generational thing where there's like,
Well,
what? It was meant to be funny. I don't see anything wrong with it.
That's the thing, is like you're going to have some of those people who, unfortunately, when sometimes they see a movie, and don't get me wrong, some movies are just movies meant to be a movie,
Yeah.
and they're meant to be dumb, fun, or not to be anything serious. But in a lot of movies, you do recognize that no, there's that's not cool when someone says this word or do this thing to this person because of ABC and so on,
Yeah. I mean,
you would
definitely
think
looking
that-
at the movie through a modern lens. I mean, yeah, you see a lot of problems with it, but I mean, I don't but I think in this case, it's kind of it's a weird thing because I think it was also used to illustrate certain points that you have to sort of dig into the text, the subtext a little bit, and you have to be able to extrapolate.
And
that
you
stuff
can
to
see that
understand
because
that,
I mean, there you look at excuse me, when you look at Mortimer and Randolph, I mean, like, and you see where they're at compared to like the everyday workers that were going on. And the everyday workers were such a diverse group of people. The everyday people were hustling and bustling and stuff like that. And most of the people on their level, and even those guys in that club that they were in, I mean, there was obvious differences, as far as who was there and what class and so forth. Sometimes you have to see and hear those problematic things in order to be understood that this happens every day. This is in our real world. And if we don't see it, we don't hear it, then how are we supposed to hopefully learn?
No. Yeah. But I mean, there are some inherent problems too. I mean, with like Dan Aykroyd.
That was pretty crazy.
Going blackface. I mean, I was
oh. Yeah. I still try to figure out like what was the intent necessarily behind that too, because I have to imagine there was some reason for it. I just can't really figure it out. I just kind of feel like if it was a big issue, then, oh my God, then Billy Ray, thank God I was losing the character's name. Then Billy Ray, I would have thought would have been like, had said something or paused him for a moment and be like, dude, why you dressed like this? I
mean, you would think so, but I think at least in the context of the story, Beeks had seen Louis. So he had to do something extra in his disguise.
Right. And which he could have used a mask of some sort,
prosthetics or
considering the party that was going on. So
that's true.
But
that is true.
Yeah, I try to figure that out too. I try to figure out like what was, why that costume.
Yeah, and that's sort of what makes this movie a little,
I think that's probably the one big shaky,
the
one big problematic thing for me. Like if you really want to, because it's something I can't even really answer. But when I look at the dialogue that Randolph and Mortimer were using, I was like, well, obviously I don't like that, what they did or what they were saying rather, but it illustrates the point of these characters and where they're from and what their mindset is. And it's obviously to be kind of a teaching moment, be like, yo, this is not cool.
All right, we'll
Sorry,
continue
we're going
on.
way into
No,
it.
it's- we'll continue on. My buddy Jeff
That's
from the
very
Jeff
sad.
Needs Help / Jeff Needs Sports podcast says he's Jeff. You're giving away your age. This is the oldest guy in podcasting. In case you're not sure, this is my buddy Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
He says hot Chad.
Yeah, there you go. He grew up during the Murphy era, and he was an absolute comet. He absolutely dominated that movie, and he was only in his 20s. And we brought that up, the fact that he was only 23 when he made this movie.
Well, he was, I think, the youngest SNL cast member too.
Yep.
At one point,
That makes sense.
if I'm right.
You're probably right. I'm not sure, but you probably are. Shoot the Flick responded to Jeff saying, "It's funny, but I feel like this movie has taken a backseat to Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America." I can agree
I
with
can
that.
see that. Yeah,
Those are the movies I think of first.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also because it's movies I
totally
grew up with
understandable.
more.
Yeah, I was gonna say like it's understandable because he went on to do really good movies after that,
Mhm.
and each one just kind of keeps topping the other in a lot of ways. So I mean, he was just on
he
a roll
definitely
back then.
Yeah, he was definitely, on fire with, turning out those cinematic
Yeah.
hits, in the 80s and 90s.
Because like I said, like I know Coming to America was at least one of those first, I think,
Mhm.
Murphy movies for me.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely was for
actually-
me.
I remember Mom and Dad loving that movie
Yeah.
when that at least was new or close to new at the time. So I remember seeing it a lot.
All right. Yeah, I think Coming to America is such a weird thing to bring up, but I feel like that's the first time I ever saw nudity in a movie.
At the very beginning of the movie too.
Yeah, exactly. The royal penis is clean, Your Highness. All right. The nerdy
Such a good
photographer.
movie.
Yeah, very good. The nerdy photographer says a funny and poignant twist on the old Pygmalion story. Some problematic parts for sure, highly quotable, and uses the gif of Dan Aykroyd choking Eddie Murphy.
He's not
I'll let
wrong.
you. And then Talking Smack podcast quoted it and tagged some of their friends. Let's see if they responded. The real 7CJ he responded with classic, and then he put a gif of the barber from Coming to America saying he ain't lying. Just think it's funny. He used the
And I
gif
just
from-
said that.
Yeah, exactly. Coming to America. So that was kind of funny that he used that gif. All right, so that's their thoughts. Now it's time to get our thoughts. And let's rate this thing. Chad, I'm gonna let you
All
kick
right.
us off this time.
I think I rated this thing 4 stars. I think it was good. It was entertaining. I mean, yeah, there were some problematic parts to it, but I think overall, the objective of the movie, I think, accomplished what it needed to, and it was entertaining for the most part overall. And I enjoyed the cast, and so yeah, I mean, it's definitely a movie that, I mean, if I had to watch again, I would not be mad.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, I think 4 stars is a good rating, fair assessment on my part. So
Chris, go ahead.
Actually, I think my rating's probably about the same. I think it's like 4.5, somewhere around there. Great performances overall, of course. I think, honestly, I do think the cast had a really good chemistry with one another.
Mhm.
I think Dan Aykroyd and Eddie Murphy worked really well. So even though it wasn't Gene Wilder or Richard Pryor,
Right.
it's actually now really hard to imagine those two playing Louie and Billy, honestly, if I was to think about it. So, I mean, it worked out in the end and did very well. So I think whatever the problematic parts are, which I think we can name quite a few, I think some of it is understandable because it's just trying to illustrate a point in character mindset and motivations and so forth. Granted, the costume part, I still sit there and think, but why that one?
Right.
But otherwise, it's a good movie. And like Chad said, if I don't mind watching it again if it was something that came across on TV. I mean, I own the Blu-ray because it is a classic in its own right, but good movie. Good movie. So I enjoyed it, and I still do.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I don't think there's anything else for me to add, and I'm following right along with you. Only difference is I'm going to give this 4 Merry New Years.
There you go.
That's a good one, Josh. That's a good one.
Yeah.
More puns. More puns.
There, exactly. All right, now it's time to talk a little bit of business. What's coming up? So it's going to depend. If I get this edited in time, you will either next week be getting Remember the Titans with author / teacher Katie Kinder, or last week got Remember the Titans. Depends if I get this edited or not. So, and if you already had if you already had Remember the Titans in your feed, then coming up next week will be another deep dive review with these guys, and we'll be talking about the movie that won the poll, and that is Terms of Endearment, and see we can find out why Chris really wants me to see this movie. Finally get to the bottom of that, because that's my burning question about the movie.
I really do hope you enjoy it. It's a great film. I know it's way different than
film.
Well, you know what I mean. It's really different than maybe what you normally would enjoy, Josh, because I know you're not much of a drama person per se. But
am I the drama?
No,
I'm not the drama.
Am I? I do think you like sometimes stepping out of your comfort zone and enjoying something different. And this one's really good. Fine performances all around, good script. And I hope it's one that will probably be able to get you a little emotional. So we'll see.
We're getting that Chris's goal was to make me cry.
Yes.
Yeah, so
a little, at least a tear.
So
one
I was
tear.
say, Josh, if you start blubbering, you have to film like a little selfie video or something.
or maybe, and for those that have recorded with me in person, you will recognize this. Maybe I'll just do the single tear like my boy Crybaby up there.
There you go.
There you go.
You got some eye drops laying around your house, I'm sure, somewhere. You just drop something.
Yeah, I can make something happen. And then just a preview of everything else. February, I can tell you that February 1st, I have a guy who's worked in a ton of film related areas. He's directed, he's been grips, he's done help casting. He's now turned his passion to music, and he's become a rapper.
Awesome.
I'm talking about Saban Mayfield, and he's got a great story about how he got Jeff Jarrett into the movie Spring Breakers. We talk about how his mom pretty much works directly with David Fincher as his personal casting director. So that's
nice.
Some awesome stories to be heard on there. And then these guys will be back, and we'll be talking When Harry Met Sally.
Looking forward to that one, because believe it or not, guys, I've not seen that one straight through. I've only seen
me either.
I've seen the famous clip that everyone wants to refer to, of course.
Right. And we're all going to do our impression.
Oh, okay. That would be interesting.
So Josh, rehearsing.
Yeah. So we'll be talking When Harry Met Sally. And then after that, I'm going to have on Pete from the Middle Class Film Class podcast on, and we're going to talk about Whiplash.
Oh, nice.
And to finish out February, we'll be doing our picks, which will reveal what our picks are for February on next week's episode, Terms of Endearment.
For the next poll. Yeah, you guys we enjoy these polls very much, and
enjoy your interaction.
Fun to have you guys interact. Yeah.
Enjoy you leaving the comments on the movies we're talking about, so we can read them here on the pod. It's a lot of fun interacting with everyone. That's what we enjoy. At least that's what I enjoy the most. That's for sure. Chad enjoys finding out he's hot when he goes on Twitter. So
I mean, it's not an everyday thing.
And by the way, Chad is now selling pictures of his feet for those who may be interested.
$99 US, not a penny less.
All right, so that's what's coming up for the rest of January.
or you can. Or you can look up his feet on Wicked Feet.
All right. Chris, tell them where they can find you. We're going to get out of here tonight, guys.
You can find me on Twitter at CBC Monkey. You can find me on Instagram at xtopher of Oz. I'm also in Letterboxd with one of those two names again. I totally forget right now. Either way, you can find me on one of those platforms.
I have to coach you on some branding.
Thank you.
I'm on all the popular. No, I'm not. You find me on some of the more popular platforms. Green Screen Grin
on Twitter,
the Tweety Box
on Instagram,
on the Grid, and is that it? Oh, the Letterbox. Yeah. So the Tweety Box, the Letterbox, and the Grid. Yeah, and then you find me on Christian Mingle and WikiFeet and LinkedIn for all you professional people out there.
All right.
And hashtag Chad's hot or hashtag hot Chad.
Hashtag hanging Chad.
Oh, there you go. And as always, you can follow the show at YNF Movie Pod on Twitter and Instagram. Easiest way is to go to linktr.ee/YNF Movie Pod. It'll have Twitter, Instagram, all the places you can listen. Letterboxd is on there. The YouTube channel's on there. Some of these go out as videos, so you want to check those out. And I've already told what's coming up next. So until then, you guys take care, and I'll talk to you next time.